Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it. I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it. Do it!
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it!
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that Danhausen, love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now!
You're welcome.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday and happy weekend, and welcome to your December 12th edition of the Winged Eagle Podcast, coming at you prime time on a Saturday night. For those of you who've been following along and scoring at home, we've got another stay-at-home order here in California for 3 weeks. So I got nothing to do in terms of going to work. We're not going to work. So I got a few weeks off here, so I figured I would adjust some of the times on some of the live streams, and I much prefer coming up on a Saturday evening rather than a Saturday afternoon. It's only 5 p.m. for me here on the West Coast, but for you East Coasters, it's around 8 in the evening. It's probably a perfect time just to kick back and chat some wrestling with me. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Pretty loaded episode as well. We got some wrestling news to get into. I've got a big list of video schedules, a video schedule coming out here in the next week or two that I want to inform you guys about as well. Lots of results. We got TLC on the horizon 1 week from tomorrow. AEW Dynamite scored a enormous rating this week and beat NXT by a pretty fair amount. Lots of good things happened on both Wednesday night shows, and then last night's SmackDown was okay, but we had a really interesting development on Talking Smack as well. So all sorts of stuff to get into and all sorts of stuff to discuss. It should be a nice, fun episode, and hopefully we'll have a decent audience in here hanging out and joining this. I wanted to apologize for those of you who keep track of my videos via Twitter. I didn't tweet anything out today because I'm currently in Twitter jail. I've never been in trouble before, so I got suspended for a week from Twitter. I appealed it, but I called Donald Trump a cunt. So not that he isn't one, it's totally true, but I think I got a little ahead of myself there, and they actually banned me. It came in right away, so it was like an automated type of deal. So I was like, I understand they don't want like hate speech and and things like that. I totally understand that. I even think I said I hated him in the tweet too, but it wasn't. I didn't know you couldn't say you didn't hate things. I hated things at War Games, and I tweeted that out the other day. So anyway, I appealed it. We'll see if they give me my access back. Otherwise, I think I got like 5 days left until I can start tweeting again. I can see tweets, I can send DMs. I just can't like anything, retweet anything, or respond. So I'm in Twitter jail. Pretty funny. It's never happened to me before. I kind of got a kick out of it. Don't even care. So anyway, if you were expecting to see a social media post about this episode, that's why you did not. So I'll be back soon. But other than that, that's the only thing I really wanted to inform you guys right up front, along with some big videos coming up, especially one tomorrow. Tomorrow, I got a brand new Patreon sponsored review that's going to drop on WWE Divas Undressed from 2002. This was that Diva lingerie fashion show that they basically did back in 2002, about a month after WWF switched over to WWE. They had a panel of judges and brought out all the current divas. And, around that time, that was a year after the WCW buyout. So they also incorporated a lot of the old WCW women there too, like the Stacy Keeblers and the Tori Wilsons and things like that. So they had a big batch of divas to use for this. It was a little bit ridiculous. I recorded the review a couple of days ago. I just got to polish up the editing tonight, and that will be on the channel tomorrow morning. I'll probably release that, I don't know, maybe like 6 a.m. my time or 9, I don't know, sometime in the morning tomorrow, depending on where you live. 12 hours from now, let's just say, we'll do that. So that'll be coming up. And also, we got a lot coming up between now and the end of the year. I want you guys to go ahead and start sending me your questions for our year-end Q&A. I'm not 100% sure on the date on that yet, but I'm targeting either December 30th or New Year's Eve itself, December 31st, because if our stay-at-home order here in California is extended through January 1st, that means I won't be working New Year's Eve. And I got nowhere to go on New Year's Eve. I usually work every New Year's Eve, and nobody's having New Year's Eve parties. Why don't we have one right here? So I'm going to wait and see what my work schedule does. If I'm off New Year's Eve, we're going to do it New Year's Eve. I'm going to crack open some Jericho Bubbly. We'll hang out, we'll drink, we'll have a good time, answer a ton of questions. It will be a hoot. If I do wind up reopening the restaurant and I'm going to work on New Year's Eve, then I'm going to do it the day before on the 30th. So it's likely going to be one of those 2 days. But either way, regardless, send your questions over to me. I'm only accepting them through email. That way I'm not bombarded with social media questions all over the place and I can't keep up with it. Let's just do email for now. goodmikework@gmail.com. Send me all of your questions. Just put year-end Q&A in the subject and let me have it. If you want to make sure your question is going to be answered, the only advice I would want to give to you is don't ask me to do a top 10 or a top 5 or anything like that. These are going to have to be relatively opinionated type based questions. What did you think of this? What did you think of that? Who would win this match? Who would win that match? Any sort of like elaborate question, I'm probably going to skip because I want to keep it moving. So over the years, I've gotten crazy questions like, break down your top 20 favorite tag teams. Tell me which of each team, or which was your favorite match from each team, and where did you think, what company did they have the best run in, and like really elaborate breakdown questions that could really be their own video. So just kind of stay away from those and just give me random questions about the business. I will try to answer all of them. And in addition to all the ones I get through email that I'm just going to dump into a document and answer one by one, I'm also going to be answering shit in the chat all night long, including every single super chat that's sent. So keep a lookout for that. That should be a nice way to close out the year. We've been doing that lately in the past few years, and it's been a blast. And I'm sure this year will be no different. Other than that, I'm trying to work out some other dates. The next time you will see me after this, of course, is tomorrow. I'm sorry, Monday. You got 3 days of videos here. Today here with the Winged Eagle, tomorrow with Divas Undressed, and then Monday night for the live Raw review. And then this coming Friday, I believe is the 18th. That's the night I'm going to just do a random live stream, probably like an hour after SmackDown goes off the air. I'm going to come up here, open some of this Stone Cold IPA, and open some WCW trading cards and just hang out and show them to you. We'll talk about wrestling shit, whatever took place on SmackDown. That, of course, will be the go home to TLC. And we'll just kind of shoot the shit and have a nice casual stream. I'm not even going to make any notes for it. Just going to be casual. So if you want to hang out, spend a Friday night with good mic work, you can do that. The following day, Saturday the 19th, I'll be up here 1 week from today, Winged Eagle Podcast / TLC Predictions. The day after that, TLC review, immediately following the pay-per-view. Immediately after that, the day after that, Raw review, immediately following Raw. So one review after another here. And I also have a top 10 favorite tag teams live stream that's coming up right now. I've got the date of December 22nd, which is a Tuesday, penciled in. That might change. If that stays, I believe that will be 5 straight days of streaming if I don't change that date. So that's going to be a big week right before Christmas there. And then, of course, the year-end deal is coming up. And I'm even going to try to add a watch-along. I thought about maybe doing a live watch-along to AEW Dynamite one Wednesday. It's just, if I do it on the 23rd, that will be 6 nights of streaming on the channel. That's a bit much. So maybe I'll try to do it this week or something. We'll see. Just stay tuned here. I'll try to let you guys know, at least on YouTube in the community section where you can make posts and things like that, what the hell's going on. So just kind of put all that shit in the back of your mind. It's going to be a loaded last couple of weeks here of the year, and I think it's going to be really fun. So just keep a lookout for all of that. Before we get into the wrestling news, let me just say hi to everybody in the chat, knock out a couple of super chats, shout out the patrons, and then we'll get rolling with business. What's up, Daniel Rodriguez? Thanks for the 99 cents. Good to see Barry and Howeezy in here. Thank God. Got some police. George Morris is back with $5. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, how's it going? Looking forward to your podcast tonight because I've had a very busy week. 75 hours. God damn. Did you see the Cobra Kai Season 3 trailer? 75 hours? I feel like a piece of shit. I haven't worked all week. And I'm still tired. Damn, that's a lot. I'm glad you're able to kick back tonight and hang out with us. And yes, I saw the Season 3 trailer. It almost choked me up. I mean, it's going to be so fucking good. You know what's crazy, though? I think they're changing the release date. The trailer we got, that little teaser we got back in October said January 8th or January 9th. I forgot what it is. And if you notice in the trailer, and now every single promotional ad, whether it's an actor or one of the producers tweeting Cobra Kai, you know, the Season 3, Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, any sort of promotional work that they're doing, hyping up Season 3, no longer lists a date. It only says January. My girlfriend and I have already made plans to be completely off that night, and it looks like they might be switching up the date on us now. And a lot of people are saying that it might come out January 1st. At the end of the Season 3 trailer, they use that New Year's song. That might be a little hint there that they're changing it, giving it to us a week early, and we get it New Year's Day, right to kick off the year, which wouldn't be bad, but kind of fucks up my plans. But I'm jacked for Season 3. Can't wait. Whenever the hell it finally comes out. We've been waiting over a year. Good to see you as well. Tizzy and JL and Ben. Cornball Slim. Sonic Players. Chris Ludecky, what's up, bro? Thanks for the 5. You called POTUS and you got put in Twitter jail. Another case of Twitter silencing the facts. It happens. You know what? I'm not even mad about it. I'm not like one of those angry people. Oh, they're censoring me, taking away my rights. You know, I'm usually pretty, you know, level-headed. I just hate that motherfucker. He is a goddamn disgrace. So I think I was mostly making fun of him in the response, but because of a couple of the specific words I use, I think it triggered some automated shit. It happens. No big deal. I'll be back on Friday. Ramon Coffee, yes, sir. I'm actually going to open with that, man. Tiny Lister, Zeus, passing away. We're going to start with that. Yeah, I mean, I've said far worse things about TNA or back in the day, you know. Now I don't hate TNA so much anymore. Yeah, Season 4 not only is planned, I think they're really close to starting to film that already, Chad. So that is definitely going to happen. I think they're going to make it to at least 6 seasons before they start talking about wrapping it up. But I think it's got miles left. There's so much story there. And I think we're going to get a nice cliffhanger at the end of Season 3. I think in the trailer, they showed Johnny. He's not in a lot of the other scenes in the trailer. He's all beat up and bloody and busted. He's completely clean. Looks like he's, you know, straight and narrow and sober and everything. And he busts into the Cobra Kai dojo and he kicks down the door. I have a feeling when he kicks down that door, we're going to see Mike Barnes and Terry Silver. And that might be when Season 3 ends, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. Going to be interesting. Going to be fun. And who knows? I'd like to see Allie come back too. I don't know. Elizabeth Shue I thought was coming in, so we didn't see her in the trailer. We'll see. I know you guys don't give a shit about Cobra Kai, but a couple people in here do, so that's why I always talk about it. And all right, that says it all for this pleasantries there. Hey, Chris, and what's up, Sunny Man? Good to see you guys as well. All right, well, let's start rolling through the news here. Not much of an audience in here now. We'll see if that grows as we go. Like I said, I'm not able to send out any social media posts about my video, so some people might miss this and have to watch it later. We'll see. But here's how we're going to structure this podcast. I guess we're going to start with the news here and then roll into AEW and NXT, finish up with SmackDown and the current TLC card, and then we'll shoot the shit, answer some questions at the end. Of course, every Saturday, I want to shout out all of the current patrons that support the channel here monthly and get very, very little in return other than a shout out. I don't have a big, Patreon agenda in terms of getting out, extra and additional bonus content and stuff. I feel like I owe you guys a lot. But those of you who are supporters, you really help a lot and really help, keep the channel going because it costs money to run this thing. And I appreciate all of you. Brand new $20 per month patron, Jay Smooth, want to shout you out as well. Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dogs, Ken O'Brien Y, Devlin Husband, if he shows up, John Redifer, Claudio Clavedetcher, Jordan Carr, Daniel Rodriguez. Barry is here. Barry is the sponsor of tomorrow's Divas Undressed video. Go over to, well, you can't You can't do it right now unless Barry puts up a link. Shoot over to Barry MK. He's a moderator. Go over to his YouTube channel. He's got a whole playlist of all of the videos that I've done for him throughout the years. Check that out. Reese Jones, good to see you. You'll probably be here as well. Josiah Blevins, Mr. Steve, Scott Moss, Domanian Ewell, John Riffle, Michael Cuomo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, and Blake Moran. You guys are awesome. Appreciate your support as always. That clears that up, and let's get into, where's my notes? There we go. We're going to talk wrestling news first. And I think we're going to open with the passing of Zeus. Very sad. I think it was I don't know, Thursday or Friday. Tiny Lister passed away at age 62. I guess he was found dead in his apartment. Not really sure the cause of death there. Very, very sad. He seemed like he was pretty young. I wasn't aware of any illnesses or, personal problems or issues he's really ever had. But everybody that has ever talked about him has always said, for a guy that's as big and as menacing as him, he's just a sweetheart of a man with a heart of gold. And it's sad to hear about his death, because I remember I went and saw No Holds Barred in the movie theater in 1989, excuse me. My mom dropped me off and went and saw it with my friend. And I remember watching the movie, and it's bad, but when you're 12, or 13, what the fuck I was, you don't really know as much. It was just crazy to see Hulk Hogan in the movie. I remember when they previewed the movie at WrestleMania 4, I believe, and Jesse Ventura absolutely lost his shit. He's like, I can't believe Hogan's coming into my neck of the woods, Hollywood, because he had already done like Predator and Running Man and shit and worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now he's all threatened that Hogan's coming into Hollywood. I don't think Jesse had really much to worry about there from an acting perspective from Hogan, but that was a really big movie, really big production, and I remember being pretty amazed by it in the movies, and I was terrified of Zeus, and I could not believe when they brought him in to the company. Then I was like, oh shit, I was happy that Hogan beat him, or Rip beat him in the movie, but then he's coming into the WWE, and we all know, looking back, Zeus didn't have a lick of wrestling experience, never been in the ring, didn't even have a clue about professional wrestling, but they brought him in, and even though in the ring, he was terrible, he still understood like showmanship, and he still understood how to be a scary monster. To a kid like me, he scared the shit out of me. He got that Google eye and the unibrow, and he says rah rah, and he's just beating his chest, and he's fucking enormous. I mean, he really looked like, and felt like, to a kid anyway, a legitimate threat to Hogan. And this is after Hogan has toppled everybody in front of him, including Andre the Giant, which that was his biggest opponent ever, and it was really tough for WWE to ever find somebody that could really scare you into thinking that they could beat Hogan. And not since Andre did anybody give me that feeling at all. And it would have been hard to imagine Zeus as champion, but I thought that he was coming back to get revenge from the movie. It was really weird how they tried to tie in the movie and WWE, like he was coming in to get revenge on Hogan, like as if the movie was real. You know what I mean? It was kind of weird the way they did it, but he was so damn scary, and he didn't have to do much. Yeah, he couldn't work, but he didn't have to. He just needed to smash you with a bunch of forearms, and he had that neck thing where he would just like wrench the neck. That was a great move for somebody like him. And, for somebody that, that would be like me trying to become a professional surfer, or a professional skateboarder, and then going out on a half pipe for the first time. And if I could just stay on my fucking feet, to me, that would be a win. And in this case, I think Zeus stayed on his feet. He did. He didn't look very good. He had a couple of, he was stiff as a board in there and stuff, but, he understood how to play the role because he was an actor. And, he did enough to make it believable. And I thought that it was a great little mini run there. He had a couple of partners, teamed up with Macho Man first, because Macho Man had just dropped the belt to Hogan. They had the feud, in the summertime, the SummerSlam match, and then Zeus paired up with the $1 Million Man in the Survivor Series contest against Hogan and Demolition and Jake. I reviewed that pay-per-view, actually, just last year, Survivor Series 89. You can check it out on my channel right now. And then the very awesome Super Tape that came out that I have, that Hogan and Beefcake fought Savage and Zeus inside the steel cage. I think that was like the day after Christmas or something in 1989, and that was the end of Zeus. So he came in the summer, and it was just until the end of the year, literally the last match of the year, him and Savage put Hogan and Beefcake over, and I don't think we saw Zeus again. He was not around in 1990, wasn't in the Royal Rumble, and was nowhere around at WrestleMania 6 either. So that was probably a 6-month deal. And he came in and he worked, and he was a good, solid heel for Hogan to work against, and just another guy that turned out to be the same as the others, but he didn't feel the same as the others. I never felt like Kamala or Big John Studd or Killer Khan or Paul Orndorff or Studd, anybody like that had short runs with Hogan. None of them as a kid I ever thought were going to beat him for the title. Zeus was different. Zeus really scared the shit out of me. And of course, years later, I think the year I graduated high school, Friday came out. And I went and saw that in the movies as well. So I saw No Holds Barred and Friday. And of course, Devo scared the same amount of shit out of me that Zeus did. Now, in the end, I felt a little bit better because Ice Cube whipped his ass. But, he was scary as hell in that movie too. So I always have fond memories of him. And it's a shame that he passed away so young. And thoughts are with his family. But he has a pretty big connection to wrestling there. We still, to this day, 31 years later, people talk about Zeus. We talk about that program. We've talked about it here on the channel many times. And I've said the same thing every time. Zeus didn't know what the fuck he was doing in the ring, but damn, he looked like a monster, a beast. And those crazy times back then, man, just putting somebody like that, just plopping him right in the ring. Not even like, there's no PC, there's no place to like kind of train and work out or anything like that. They're just plopping him not only in a WWE ring, but in a WWE ring in main events against Hogan. That's crazy, man. So anyway, rest in peace to him, and condolences out to his family. He was apparently a hell of a man, and very, very sad. Also want to report this news as well. This came out yesterday. I even made a tweet right before I got in Twitter jail that Vince McMahon is really stupid and really evil. There's a report going around that PW Insider originally broke, reporting that Vince McMahon apparently he was irate and mad or something like that. I question that, that type of thing. We need some actual real sources here to confirm that. But apparently he's all bent out of shape for some reason about some of the work rate of the bigger wrestlers, the bigger male wrestlers, apparently, in the company. All of a sudden, Vince has an issue with how they're working, and he wants to send a bunch of them to the PC, which isn't far. They're all there in Florida. He just wants to send them over to the PC to work out a little bit more and work on whatever issues Vince thinks they have. Now, that wouldn't really bother too many fans, I don't think, on the surface, had they didn't include one name into this group of wrestlers, and that one name is Keith Lee. And I think the fans blew their stacks when they heard that, because Keith Lee is one of the best, regardless of his size, in the ring. Big, small, whatever. Keith Lee knows what he's fucking doing, and he doesn't need to be told that he needs to work on it. He's been working on his whole goddamn life to get here, and he's very, very good. And I don't think there's any fans out there, even if they're not a huge fan of Keith Lee, that has a whole lot of problem with the way he works in the ring. He's phenomenal. And if Vince thinks somebody like that needs work and needs more work, then Vince doesn't know his fucking ass from a hole in the ground. That is crazy. So a lot of wrestling fans kind of lashed out at Vince. I did too, but only come on, Vince. You hear these stories. Vince really truly does live in his own bubble. He is so oblivious to so many, I think, important and relevant things about his company that he has no idea about, and he sees something and he just send him back. Vince has got to understand that he is aging and he is so behind in the times now, and he's so set in his ways that his product has visibly suffered for that for the better part of 10 years, maybe even more, since Vince's genius was no longer looked at as a genius, and the WWE became this just machine, that just pumps out the same shit day after day. Even last night on SmackDown, I just rolled my eyes when they had the Dolph Ziggler Montez Ford match. On paper, that's a pretty sexy matchup, and I'm not going to be bummed out to actually watch that match. But it's like, okay, here we go again. Two fucking tag teams are feuding. The champs lost a non-title match. Now we're going to get a singles match, and now you know what we're going to get next week on the Go Home show. It's going to be Bobby Roode and D'Angelo Dawkins. Of course, it's the same repeated shit over and over and over. So when we hear something like that, and the fans just see all these problems, with the booking and how everything is handled, and how WWE can take this big, giant group of wonderful talent, best talent that's ever been assembled in the history of the business is under the WWE's umbrella right now, and they don't know how to use them, and they don't know how to get guys over. And the production of the shows is just so just monotonous, and it's repetitive, and it's redundant, and everything is just so hard to get into and get invested in and all. And then you have this motherfucker all of a sudden getting all bent out of shape about completely the wrong thing. Imagine if Vince would get bent out of shape about shit that actually did matter. Maybe we'd see some decent changes there. So the list of wrestlers was a little weird here. Apparently, they're going to be sending Dabba-Kato, who we haven't seen at all since Raw Underground, I don't think. Dio Madden, who's currently in Retribution. Otis, and AJ's big bodyguard, and Keith Lee. Apparently, Vince McMahon thinks all these guys need some extra work in the ring. Fightful Select had reported yesterday that I read on Patreon that they had spoke to some people internally in WWE, and they said kind of the same thing I did. It's like, it's not really that much of a surprise, but to see Keith Lee's name included in there is just a little bit odd why Vince would have any problem with the way this guy works when he's been nothing but impressive. So I think a lot of people were also confused about it. I don't think I'm as mad about it as some of the fans were on Twitter, because anything like this that comes out, especially when Vince McMahon's name is attached to it, they're going to go banana. Pardon the pat pun there. So I think that it's probably somewhere in between. Maybe Vince had a legitimate gripe, but maybe he considers all big men all one entity. So he just lumped Keith Lee's name in there when he really didn't specifically need to be the one to work. But maybe Vince just wanted all of the larger wrestlers there for a seminar. I think it's funny that all of these guys, including Keith Lee, are going to the Performance Center to work on their work rate, and Nia Jax just hangs out on the Raw roster. We can't all be as great as Nia Jax, right? So I think that also rubbed fans the wrong way. That didn't even piss me off. That just made me laugh. Because come on, I mean, is it really worth expending the energy to get that mad and pissed off about something like this? Isn't this more funny than anything else? Isn't this more of just a great classic example of how balls out of touch Vince McMahon is? That he can have, Nia Jax, who I don't care for her. I don't know how else to put it. I've defended her in the past. I defended the potato to Becky. I've even defended a couple of other things where I think the fans just are too uppity. They're salivating. They're chomping at the bit to jump on her. So the minute she does or says anything, it's like, the floodgates are opened on the hate. The only thing that she's really done that's annoyed me was recently on social media when somebody asked her about COVID-19, and she said, "Oh, I'm not worried about it. My God-given immune system will beat it." Girl, you're like 380. Your God-giving immune system is like the least of your health concerns. So I just think that type of stuff just annoys me. I'm like, you're God-given. Are you really saying that right now? Like, what the fuck? God gave you a better one than everybody else? Go fuck yourself, Nia Jax. So little things like that I don't like, but I think it's hilarious that I guess Vince is focusing on the men here and not all of the wrestlers as a whole. But you'd think that Nia Jax would need to be in this group. I think that might have even made the fans a little bit less pissed if they saw her name in there, with Otis. And what the hell does Otis need to do? Does Otis even do anything? Otis is a gimmick. Otis is a character. He's just running around and squashing people in the ring, hitting them with elbows and ramming them in the corner and shit that Otis does. He does a fucking worm. He's not Eddie Guerrero. So Vince knows what he has there in Otis. Otis has been on TV forever, and Vince apparently really likes him. They've given him this stupid blue-collar working man gimmick that I'm already sick of. I was really into Otis and Mandy and that whole thing that was going on, and I don't give a rat's ass about Otis now. Don't really care much for his character. He doesn't do anything for me at all. I can totally see why Vince likes him. Makes perfect sense why Vince likes him. But I just don't. Unless they would have kept him in, more entertaining storylines like they had with the Mandy stuff. I thought that was pretty decent. Why WWE decides to drop shit that is working, I have no idea sometimes what's going on with this company. But anyway, that was an interesting story. One more piece of news to get in here, then I'll catch up the Super Chats, and then we are into AEW. And yes, we will be getting Spaz some New Year's Evil speculation here. I think we got 2 matches probably on the books on tap for that, for New Year's Evil, and Kross and Balor, and maybe Raquel and Io. Other than that, I think you guys can help me out piecing together the rest of that card. I didn't. Deshaun, I had no idea. I didn't know Tiny had COVID for 4 months. I didn't even know that. I just read that he was found dead. To me, that was all that mattered. He's dead. That's a shame. That's a shame. The way they put that storyline together in 1989, yeah, it felt like the movie in WWE was canon, even though they acknowledged that it was a movie. It was also, they kept referring to like this revenge of Zeus and stuff. So it was just like weird. I think they even tried to spin it, if I remember right. I think they tried to spin something like, it might have been Jesse that said something. I think it was also that Hogan was a prima donna on set kind of thing. And not only was he, a superstar in the movie, he treated Zeus like that on the set. They might have said something like that. I can't remember, but it was more structured around, Zeus getting revenge on Hogan from the movie. And I remember in the movie, they had like the WWE title, but it had a white strap on it. Here's another fun topic. We're going to love talking about this. So Goldberg was on the bump. He's been on the bump a couple of times. I don't even know who hosts this shit now. So he's on the bump and he's just talking random shit. He's talking about a lot of people, and he brought up Roman Reigns. Now, of course, Roman and Goldberg were supposed to meet at last year's WrestleMania, but Roman backed out. That was when he was still a babyface. He's now coming back, and he's the most over guy in the company right now and doing phenomenal work, which is a stark contrast of what he was doing 1 year ago. So it's not that surprising that WWE, it would cross their mind to make up this match. They were just going to give it to us 9 months ago. So it's not like this is coming out of left field. It's not like Goldberg has been laying dormant, for the past 6 years. And all of a sudden they want to bring him back to face Roman Reigns. Goldberg was Universal Champion this year. So it's not like it's that crazy, but I think a lot of fans immediately kind of rejected this. And I'm with them sort of, but I'm going to give you a scenario where I think it's okay. So Goldberg, he started teasing this, and I don't know if this is directed by WWE or if he still thinks a match with Goldberg somewhere in the future can still happen, so you might as well plant the seed while you have the chance. And he talks about how they were supposed to have the match at WrestleMania, and then Roman backed out, and then he stole his move, and he delivers it like shit, and just talking shit about how Roman delivers the spear. And he's like, when I give you the spear, you know you've been speared, and Roman doesn't know what he's doing. And he says, Roman Reigns is next. And Roman took to social media. He's like, look, motherfucker, you don't tell me when I work. I say who's next. And who's next is Kevin Owens. I got a match with him at TLC, so you're dumb. You said I'm next. I'm not. Kevin Owens is. So Roman kind of staked his claim there and saying, I make the rules. I do things on my time. We would see a lot of that last night on SmackDown as well, with Heyman saying, don't go in the ring. You make the decisions. You make the rules, not him, kind of thing. So he kind of reiterated that here and, got the ball rolling a little bit. Now, most fans are like, fuck no, we don't want to see that. That is the way I felt about WrestleMania 37. Wait, where the fuck was I? Or 36, the one that was this year in the dead ass empty performance center. Roman and Goldberg, I was very much against 9 months ago. I'm not sure if I'm so much against it now. The one thing that worries me though is Roman is, kind of the most over and the freshest new heel they currently have on the roster right now, just like The Fiend was when they went to Saudi Arabia. So that does concern me just a hair, but I don't think, as stupid as WWE is, I don't think they are that stupid to kill something that they clearly see is working. And I think this is even bigger than The Fiend, because I think WWE has shown a lot more loyalty to Roman over the years than they have Bray Wyatt. They've had Bray Wyatt lose a lot of big matches. Some people feel like they ruined his character. And I feel like they completely raped The Fiend when he lost to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. That shit still pisses me off. So provided WWE doesn't get bit with the stupid juice again, I think that maybe this could be a good thing in terms of somebody finally putting down Goldberg for real. Don't forget, Goldberg, much like The Undertaker, hasn't really had a real retirement either. Felt like he was going to retire, then he didn't. It was after the Brock match. That Brock match should have been it for Goldberg at WrestleMania. Same WrestleMania as Undertaker. Goldberg and Taker should have retired at the same show. And I think even that next night, when was it? Was that after WrestleMania 33? And Goldberg came out and cut the promo, which was actually really nice. Brought his family in the ring. Still not sure what was up with the shirtless kid, but he brought his family in the ring and had a really nice promo. Even told the fans to cool it, stop sabotaging my shit. I'm trying to speak from the heart here. I'm trying to say goodbye to you. I'd appreciate some respect. I like that from him. Like, kind of cool it, motherfuckers. And the fans actually kind of did. They actually listen. The fans don't respect anything. The fans are, selfish, disrespectful assholes, 90% of the time at these shows. So the fact that they actually were like, oh, okay, we'll listen to you. And they did, and they kind of gave him a nice ovation. To me, that was all I needed, because he really spoke as if he did everything for his family. Everything that he did was for his family. And I thought that was a really nice way and a proper way for somebody like him to go out, since that was his whole motivation of coming back to begin with in 2016. So the fact that he didn't, came back and wrestled a few times, including embarrassing himself in Saudi Arabia against The Undertaker and having a couple of crappy matches too. Now he's back. At some point, we need to see the end of it because the fans are over Goldberg. There's a car alarm going off behind me. The fans are kind of overseeing him. So I know a lot of fans' instinct and their knee-jerk reaction is going to be reject this match. No Goldberg and Roman, no Goldberg and Roman. But let me ask you, wouldn't it be much better to do this now than back in March when Roman was this, goody two-shoes fuck boy, for the WWE that everybody hated? He's the man now. And if I'm some sort of a legend and I want to go out and have my last match, I want to go out, I want to get beat by the best guy out there. I want to be beat by the best in the world, or the top star in the world, I should say. So don't freak out. That's, I think, would be more appropriate. And, Roman already got fucked over when he retired the Undertaker, and Undertaker already, and then he unretired. So at least he'll have one career he can say he ended, and that would be Goldberg. Especially, and I don't think they would do this, but especially if they made it maybe not a squash. I think maybe a squash is asking too much, but a definitive win. I would love for Roman to beat Goldberg the way Goldberg beat Brock in 2016. That would be great. I think that's a little bit much to ask, but I think if it's a slightly competitive match, in the end, you do see Roman putting down Goldberg hard, where when that referee starts counting to 3, there is no question that there's not going to be a kick out. Roman has won, puts him out. Goldberg officially retires. And, Roman can use that as a talking point in his promo. Paul Heyman, for years will not shut the fuck up about that. The man who ended Goldberg, that would be a nice little addition. So I don't want to see this match at WrestleMania. I worry that they're planting the seed there to keep their options open for WrestleMania. They could do Roman at this point, after what we saw in Talking Smack. They could do Roman and Big E. They could do Roman and Rock. They could do Roman and Brock. And they could do Roman or Goldberg. So I think they got some options here for Roman Reigns in terms of WrestleMania, but he's most certainly holding on to the title until then. And I would love for him to face Goldberg. Maybe at the Royal Rumble would be better, and just have because he's going to have to face somebody at the Royal Rumble. Might be Kevin Owens again if their feud extends past TLC, but if not, maybe the Rumble would be a good place for Roman Reigns to put down Goldberg or something, and Goldberg have his last match. But WrestleMania might seem more likely. So I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with the match, provided Roman wins and wins definitively, and that's Goldberg's last match. If they do all those things, 100% on board with the match. Not against it, not rejecting it. I understand this is what WWE does. They rely on these legends. They rely on the nostalgia. And a lot of times it sucks. But if you can do it in the right way, and you can do it to actually at the same time help somebody that's a current star like a Roman Reigns even add to this great heel persona, which you got to be honest, is only 5 months old at this point. It's still very early. So the momentum should keep going here. So if that means him mowing down Goldberg on his path to whatever, kind of star he's going to wind up being, then I'm all for that. Now, if Goldberg turns around and beats him like he does The Fiend, I will quit wrestling. I will quit YouTube. I will quit everything. I will literally die if he does that. So there's just conditions there. I'm cool with the match, provided they do it that way. But yeah, a lot of fans were none too pleased about that. And that pretty much wraps it up on the news. We're going to move in now to AEW, but I'll go up here and knock out these super chats that I know I've missed. Chris, I did get you. And there's another one from Spaz. Appreciate the 5, dude, and good to see you. And welcome back. Back for another plug. Hope everyone's great. Breakdown of AEW's tag division started yesterday. Breakdown of NXT's women's division continues next Friday night. So go subscribe to Spaz's YouTube channel. AEW's tag team division, that'd probably be a good video. They got some good tags over there. Deshaun, thanks for the $2, dude. Saw that earlier on. Wasn't aware until you just told me that Lister had COVID for 4 months. That definitely is a shame. And Spaz, there you are with another 2. We're going to be talking about New Year's Evil here as we get into the NXT results here in just a little bit. And hopefully you guys can add some match ideas for me, because that should be fun. That's January 6th. I forgot when that is. Domination Warrior, thanks for the $2 as well. R.I.P. Debo. Imagine him in the Attitude Era chained to... Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. He'd be great in the Attitude Era, but he wouldn't be able to be Zeus in the Attitude Era. He'd have to be Debo. They should have brought him back. WCW brought him in as Zeus, or they called him something else, but he dressed like Zeus and had the Z thing, I think. But yeah, somebody like Debo, a character like Debo in the Attitude Era would have fit like a glove. It's too bad he didn't train to be a wrestler, man. He could have had a career doing that shit. Him and Austin, damn. Steven Scott, man, good to see you. Appreciate the $5. Hey, good mic work. Rest in peace, Zeus. It would have been fun with Debo character in WWE with the bicycle, him being a bully heel. Yeah, we just said that. Oh man, even if he had the bike and he just went around backstage, like, what if he was able to corner like Spike Dudley somewhere? I mean, you owe me money, and just beats the shit out of him. But then they'd have Molly Holly slap him, and then it would be weird, and there'd be a mixed tag match or something. But I would love to see that. You know when they used to follow guys walking backstage, the camera would just be back. I would love to see Debo on the bike. Oh wow. That's an image. Diet Water, welcome back, man. Good to see you as well, and appreciate the $5. Chavo Guerrero, Christian, Stacy Keebler, Hurricane Helms, A-Train, Bob Holly, Ken Shamrock, The Boogeyman, and The Undertaker Hall of Fame 2021. That's quite the class there. Chavo for sure, Christian for sure, Stacy definitely. I'd be down with Hurricane Helms going in. I'm not sure. He's back with the company now as an agent, so I suppose they could put him in. He's one that I worry might take a while. I don't think A-Train will make it in. I know he's great for what he does there at the PC. He's still there, right? Matt Bloom as one of the trainers. But in terms of his wrestling career, I don't know if there's enough there, man. But again, it's the Coco Beware rule. If Coco went on, anybody can get in. But A-Train, even when he came back as Tenzai, how bad that shit sucked. He just never really, he never really found his niche. Bob Holly I'd be into because Bob was awesome. So was Ken. Boogeyman, no. So I'm going no on A-Train, Helms, and Boogeyman on that. But as I've been mentioning about this year's Hall of Fame, no idea what they're going to do yet. But since it does appear that The Undertaker has officially retired, I think that he should be a one-man class because we haven't inducted 2020 yet. So whatever they decide to do this year, whether it's a virtual Hall of Fame or whatever, I think you do the entire class of 2020, the Batista, the Liger, the Bulldogs, JBL, whoever else is in there, do all those guys, and then the main event will be your one-man class of 2021. I think it would be a nice way to set The Undertaker apart, and it's a scenario that they've fallen ass backwards into with COVID. COVID has handed them this. So you can't really ignore 2020's class, but you can't add 5 or 6 more guys and induct 15 people either. That would just be a little bit much, especially if you're, asking the talent to sit in the audience the night before WrestleMania and go through all this shit. It's going to last for 12 fucking hours. So I think that would be the best way to do it. And the only concession you would need there is say, Batista, you're the headliner, but you're not the headliner. You're the headliner of your class, but you're not going on last. Undertaker's going on last. And as long as Batista has no problem with that, which I don't think he will, I think that's what you do. One-man class for The Undertaker. I'm a strong, strong advocate for that. Unless WWE does something kind of cheap and they just kind of induct the entire 2020 class in a video package and they don't fly him in to do a speech or whatever, but I think that would be cheap. I still, Liger might not be able to make it or something depending on what the travel situation is. I don't know, but if you can get everybody there, that's what I would do. Do 2020 and then the one-man 2021 class of The Undertaker. Hey, Jay Smooth, good to see you, man. 1999, appreciate the $5. Up, good mic work, tuned in, but I hope your day is going good. It's going great. Shouted you out earlier in the Patreon shout-outs as well, and welcome aboard, and glad you're here. Let's move into some of the wrestling results now. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the Wednesday night shows. I'm going to talk about the important stuff, but not everything, and then we'll wrap it up with SmackDown and TLC, or the current TLC card, and then we'll do predictions 1 week from today. AEW this week scored a big ratings victory over NXT, drawing in nearly 1 million viewers at 995,000. NXT only brought in 659,000. But was AEW really the better show this week? You're about to find out. Show opened up with the Young Bucks defeating the Hybrid 2. They had advertised this match the previous week. If you want flippy, this is your match. My God, they did everything under the sun here that you could possibly imagine between these two teams. The Young Bucks, of course, won. The Acclaim was out there at ringside. I think SCU got involved at the end, and there was kind of a big brawl. So, the title scene is very, very busy right now. And it looks like the Young Bucks are going to be giving a lot of teams opportunities to work with the titles, and they're not, automatically, focused right back on FTR yet, which I think is good. So that was a fun, flippy match to open the show. And pretty awesome. We then had a Cody Rhodes interview with Tony Schiavone, and Cody doesn't even get a word out, I don't think. I think he's about to say something, and then the lights go out, and we see the return of Sting. So Sting showed back up the week before, turning up in AEW, debuting there, back on TNT. Very, very awesome to hear Tony say it's Sting again. That was fucking fabulous. A lot of people have had a lot of opinions about Sting. We did a different commentary schedule last week, so I didn't get to talk in depth about Sting except for the Winter is Coming review. But a lot of people have opinions about Sting, and the anti-AEW people. Oh, well, WWE did that, but there's all that shit. It's all about being on whatever side you want. Nobody has an objective opinion here. It's all about being able to argue with the fans on the other side that you don't like, and that's fucking annoying. So we're going to try to give you some actual opinions that aren't swayed by any bias. I'll do that in a minute. So Cody doesn't even get to talk. Sting comes out. He says it's great to see Tony Schiavone. Arn Anderson even kind of has a little face-off with Sting and says, I'm going to let you guys have at it here. You and I have history, but, I think this is between you and Cody or whatever, and I'm going to get out of here and let you guys do it. Sting makes Tony do the It's Sting announcement, which was pretty fun. Cody seems happy to see him, but Sting, it's kind of funny. Sting was a little bit, resistant to Cody a little bit, says that he didn't come here for him, or at least not yet. And he says things are very, very familiar around here. Obviously, the Tony Schiavone, even Jim Ross being on commentary, and of course they're back on TNT. And he says things are very, very familiar around here. And then he points up to the seats, way up in the high seats there, and you see Darby Allin sitting there. And last week during his debut, he kind of had that little face-off with Darby. And a lot of people over the months, ever since AEW started, have compared Sting to Darby Allin, and I've always rejected that comparison. I always thought they're not as similar as people are making them out to be. Aside from the black and white, and maybe sitting up in the seats, I don't see how they're similar. Surfer Sting never surfed. I don't even know why we call him that. And he sure as shit doesn't skateboard. So he never skateboarded to the ring. He doesn't have nearly the same style as Darby Allin. They're not nearly the same size. Sting had some power to him. Darby Allin, like I said, a million times more resembles Jeff Hardy than he does Sting, in my opinion. But because of the similarities, it looks like AEW is going to be going in that direction. They had the stare down last week, and now Sting points up to him in the seats. And a lot of people are wondering if this is going to lead to Sting being his manager, which I don't think it fits. I don't think Sting fits as a manager. I'm all for having legends there as managers. I don't mind seeing Jake and Tully and Taz. I think all that's awesome, and I wouldn't mind seeing Sting either. I just don't know if managing Darby Allin fits. What's Sting going to do? Skateboard down the fucking ramp like Darby Allin does? It seems odd. So I think I'd rather see maybe something like a mixed tag, and that's another big question that people have. Is Sting going to wrestle? It looks like he probably will get in the ring, and for all the people that compare this to the Goldberg situation, this is not Goldberg. I mean, at least not yet. Based on the evidence that we've seen from AEW, how it uses its legends, they don't do what WWE does. They bring in legends, but it's usually as a way to attempt, sometimes it doesn't always work, but the attempt is to elevate somebody else. That's why you see them all in managerial roles. That's why 50-year-old Chris Jericho is working with every single young person in there, with Private Party guys, with Orange Cassidy, with MJF, everybody, Jungle Boy, you name it. He's been in the ring with a lot of young talent, and he's really tried his best to help get a lot of this talent over, or at least elevate them to some degree. And even though he was champion, he was the biggest name, and that's what they used to jumpstart their company. I don't consider that to be the same thing what WWE does with a lot of their legends. And Sting coming in, AEW is the perfect place for Sting. If Sting's going to have a personality or a presence on TV anywhere, it should be an AEW back on TNT. His WWE run was largely a failure. Came back, lost to Triple H at WrestleMania, got injured in his match with Seth Rollins. And I don't think, from Sting's perspective and as great of a career as he has had, if I'm Sting, I don't want my last match being in the WWE. Not after I had a 31-year career. 28 of those years was outside of the WWE, and I'm going to finish in WWE and fizzle out, like a faulty firecracker or something. That last match with Seth that injured him, that was just a shitty way. So if the doctors can clear him enough to do a little bit of movement in there, maybe you can get in there and have a mixed tag. Maybe you can get in there and throw one more stinger splash, or maybe not. What am I saying? Mixed tag. Have a tag, with him and Darby taking on Cody and somebody else. I don't know who. Maybe Cody and another legend that can somehow still go. Maybe even Dustin or something. I don't know. So maybe doing something like that I'm fine with. I'm fine with Sting getting in the ring, even though he's 61, even though it's ridiculous. We watched The Undertaker get in the ring well beyond his years. We watched Flair wrestle at 96 and a half years old. I don't think Sting getting in for one match, maybe 2 matches, attraction matches, something special to put on the card to watch Sting have a match again on TNT. I'm not necessarily on the surface against that at all. What I'm against is AEW doing with Sting what WWE does with Goldberg. And I think that's where a lot of fans get confused. They are comparing this, oh, if WWE did this, the fans get all fucking mad. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. Sting, if he gets into the ring next week against Kenny Omega and beats him for the title, then you've got a point. But that's not going to happen. I think any involvement Sting has in the ring is going to have to be minimal. He has no choice but for it to be minimal. He cannot go in there and win the world title. If he does, I'd be very surprised. And if he does, I think it would be much like WWE wanting to put the Universal title on Goldberg the first time to have his name on the legacy. Maybe AEW just wants Sting's name in the record books. And if that's the case, and they give him some crazy bullshit win that he just falls into, becomes AEW champion 1 week later at the pay-per-view, drops the belt, I can even live with that. I know the fans will, they put the belt on Sting. It might just be a little cup of coffee. So I wouldn't put the belt on Sting at all. I think that's a bad idea. But if they do, and they did it for a week, I wouldn't be that upset from a wrestling fan's perspective to be able to look back now, especially if AEW is a company that's going to survive, and 25 years from now, they're still here. Sting will be dead, and you'll have Sting's name, in the record books as being one of your former world champions, one of your first ever. That's not necessarily a bad thing to look back on. So to me, it just depends on how they use him, how much they put him in the ring, and how big of a storyline he's going to be in. If he's managing somebody, has an special attraction tag team match on Dynamite or a pay-per-view, that all to me is fine. If they start going beyond that and Sting is now in a title match or something, that's where we can maybe hold our breath a little bit and be like, okay, AEW, let's not turn into WWE here. But based on everything we've seen from them so far, they don't treat legends the way WWE does. So I'm not worried, and I don't think the comparison is fair at all. Because, we haven't seen what they're going to do yet. And, my instinct tells me that he can't do much. Even if they want to put him in the ring, it can't be much. So I think the fans should not really use this as ammunition to say that AEW is not any better than WWE or whatever the fuck they're blabbering about all fucking week on social media. It ain't the same, plain and simple. So like I said, I'm fine with it. If it's an attraction match, if it's a nostalgia match, that type of thing, you start putting them in title programs, then we might have an issue. So we'll see what they do. We had a Team Taz promo after that. Looks like they've now reacquired Taz's son away from Cody Rhodes. Never seen the kid before. His name is Hook, which I think is an awesome name. Doesn't really look anything like his dad. He's a little bit taller. He's a lot thinner. And we'll see how he turns out. But I'm pretty sure any offspring of Taz is going to turn out to be a pretty decent wrestler. The FTR was back. They were taking on, I love this, the Varsity Blondes. So Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr., who've been working a lot of AEW Dark matches and have been seen a lot on AEW, Dynamite and Dark. They are now teaming up, calling themselves the Varsity Blondes, and Pillman Jr. looking more and more like his dad every day. He's got that mullet so perfectly down pat. I think Brian was in better shape than Jr. was, but all in all, he looks a lot like his dad. And now doing the Varsity Blondes gimmick, and as I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite tag teams video coming up here in a week or so, the Hollywood Blondes were my favorite WCW tag team of all time. And that's in the same company as the Steiners, and Harlem Heat and, guys like that. So I loved the Hollywood Blondes, and I like this callback to it, even though they're virtually jobbers here. Griff Garrison reminds me somewhat of Lenny Lane kind of in WCW, and the two of them are still just cutting their teeth. Brian Pillman is still, very young, and he's still green, and he's paying his dues right now. He loses every match, and I think that's going to come around, and he's just going to get better and better. And hopefully, the team maybe becomes a formidable team one day, and now you got another great team in the mix. And the Varsity Blondes, I fucking love that. In the end, though, FTR, of course, is not going to lose to these guys. They hit the Goodnight Express on Brian and get the win there. And as they're leaving the ring, they get into a little scuffle with Jurassic Express on the outside of the ring. So that looks like it might be the next match for FTR, probably on Dynamite. We'll get Jungle and Lucha taking on FDR or something. That'll be an interesting match, actually. Now that I think about it, Hangman Page needs a partner. He's back at the Daly's Place bar there, and I think he's being interviewed by Marvez. Is he being interviewed by anybody? But he needs a partner for next week. They're taking on the Hardy Party. And Matt Hardy is kind of slowly turning into this arrogant heel that he's done before, which I kind of like. He's almost like, he's sort of like Matt Hardy version 1 again. You know, how he would just constantly just talk about himself and everything that he does and everything that he likes and everything that he's influenced. He's kind of back to being that. And Hangman's got to face all 3 of these guys next week, and he ain't got no partner. That's when Alex Reynolds and John Silver just rise up from behind the bar, and they convince him to team up. At first, he's a little bit, skeptical, and they're like, no, he's like, just one time, whatever, we'll just do it. Fuck it, let's team up. And they said, yay. So anyway, we got Reynolds, Silver, and Hangman taking on the Hardy Party next week. This was a fun match here. Next up, we had Dustin Rhodes taking on 10 from the Dark Order. Dustin beats him. Decent match, whatever. Dustin still blows my mind how this guy, he's been wrestling just as long as The Undertaker, and he looks like he's only been in the business for about 8 years based on the way he moves around the ring. Absolutely incredible that he can still go to this level. Has a pretty good match with 10. Beats him. That's when Evil Uno comes out with the rest of the Dark Order, and he gets on the mic and he starts talking to Dustin, and he wants to recruit him to the Dark Order. Has a couple of funny lines there. Calls him the 3rd most important Rhodes family member in AEW, which is quite a severe burn there. And then it says that he wants Dustin to join the Dark Order, and he wants his name to be 7. That got a huge pop out of me. We remember 7, right, from WCW? Maybe some of you do. And they had him, they ran vignettes for him. He was like outside of a little girl's bedroom window or something, kind of had the cowboy. He almost looked like the Undertaker, but he almost looked like Uncle Fester dressed in the Undertaker's gear or whatever. And then he does the big, elaborate entrance on Nitro, only to cut a huge shoot promo and say, look at this shit they have me in. I left the WWF and gold dust for this. This is crap. And I think shortly after that, he just went back to being Dustin Rhodes. So that whole thing was a swerve. I laughed my ass off when Evil Uno said he wants him to be 7. And I think Tony even said he ain't going to want that number, or he's not going to want that name. So nice little callback there to WCW that I very much enjoyed. That was cool. In the end, Dustin slaps Evil Uno, and Uno doesn't even command the troops to attack. He kind of backs him off. He says, all right, let's go. We'll let you sleep on it or whatever, and they leave the ring. So Dustin, much like the Hangman Page stuff, it looks like they're really trying to work these two into getting into the Dark Order. I'm surprised they haven't crossed paths yet. I'm almost thinking Hangman and Dustin maybe team up to battle these guys in the end or something. I don't know. Really weird interview next with Brandy, Rhodes, and Shaq. They were in there with, was it Tony? Was he the one doing the interview, or was it Ross? I forget. So, of course, they're going to be bringing Shaq in. They've been teasing this ever since Jade Cargill showed up, and she's been fucking with Brandy. And, Cody, we saw something very odd go in with him in the previous promo with Sting earlier on in the night. Even at the end, Sting, kind of grabs him, gives him a little like really stiff hug. He's like, see you around, kid. So it makes you think there's something going on there with Cody and Sting. And if Sting does get in the ring to have one match, I can almost see it being with Cody, given Sting's, medical clearance issues and things like that. He needs to be in the ring with somebody, that probably has power and stroke and experience and probably knows what to do to protect him in there and stuff. So if Sting is going to come in and have any sort of a one-on-one match, maybe they feel like Cody is the best guy to do that. They did something similar with Triple H. Who did Triple H work with? I forgot what the hell I was going to talk about now. Some sort of Triple H match kind of reminds me of this. So they could be having Cody do something with Sting, but then they are also teasing this Shaq shit. So we're not going to get Sting and Darby against Cody and Shaq. Or no, that's not going to work. Maybe we'll get Sting and Darby and Shaq against Cody and 2 other guys. I don't know what the fuck, but it looks like Cody's got a lot of potential options here for storylines. But this seemed to be more about Shaq and Brandy. And Shaq talked about how he was throwing a little bit of shade on Cody Rhodes on Twitter, and he was just having fun with him. And even though him and Jade are friends and he wants to see her succeed, he did not approve of what she did to Brandy's arm by stomping it in the chair. Brandy was wearing a little cast or something on her arm there to protect it, and said he didn't appreciate that, and he kind of apologized to her. And then there was a really awkward ending where she kind of gets up. It looks like it's all going to be okay, and then she just splashes the water in Shaquille's face, and you could tell he knew it was coming. He just sat there and kind of just took it. It looked bad. The whole thing was bad. So Shaq coming in, I don't know. WWE does this a lot, bringing a big star from the outside to help draw in ratings. I get it. All that's fine. But what is this all going to lead to? So far, it's all been pretty bad. And Shaq's now first appearance wasn't even in the ring. It was in a sit-down interview type of deal. And then he got water thrown in his face. What are we going to get? Shaq and Brandy? That might be an interesting match, actually. So I don't know. We'll see if this now leads to Shaq appearing on TV and maybe side by side with Jade, and we get Shaq and Jade against Brandy and Cody, I guess is what we'll get there. But what kind of match is that going to be? What kind of match is that going to be? Sting and Cody might be better than that. Hell. So I don't know. We also got the big advertised Inner Circle Ultimatum. Now, of course, last week, Jericho got pissed at everybody. He said, next week, we're going to go in the ring and have a Inner Circle Ultimatum. We're either going to agree to be on the same page or we're going to disband the Inner Circle forever. So they all come out there. All the Inner Circle members are there, minus Santana, who I believe I had read that he was off TV for personal reasons, and they didn't divulge what that was. But in storyline, Jericho said that Santana was so mad he didn't show up to work. So that's kind of where, that's kind of how they explained his absence. But apparently he's not around right now just for some personal reasons. So whatever those are, we hope Santana is okay, because I love Santana and Ortiz. Ortiz was probably the best in this. Jericho talks first. He brings up the towel issue with last week with MJF, and MJ's like, no, something was in my eye. And Jericho's like, we're not fucking stupid. We saw the tape. We know what was going on. And MJF tries to make his excuses. Ortiz gets on the mic, and he was kind of the funniest one because he's like, these guys are great assets to a team, in terms of wrestlers, but as people, that's debatable what kind of people they are. He's like, Wardlow is cool, and, MJF I've not liked, but he's growing on me like a fungus, but he is growing on me. So he even kind of, he seemed to kind of lighten his stance a little bit on how he feels about MJF being in the Inner Circle. He even gets Sammy Guevara to shake MJF's hand. He's very resistant, but of course he'll do it in the name of the faction. Jake Hager was pretty funny as well because he wants to know why the hell Wardlow is always staring at him, because every photo op they take, the two guys are staring at each other. It's one of my favorite running gags in the company right now. And Wardlow's like, you're always staring at me. So they both think they're staring at each other when, really there's probably no bad blood there at all. I guess at the end, they kind of agree to stay put. I didn't think, based on where this was landing on the show, it was kind of in the middle of the show, it wasn't at the end or anything like that. I didn't think we would see any sort of a breakup or any sort of a turn. I've been calling for this Inner Circle turn on Jericho for quite a while. I still think it's going to happen, and I still think Jericho is going to get himself a babyface run in the company before he officially retires, and I think this will eventually lead to that at some point. I just don't know when. So in the end, they all agree to be on the same page. They are staying together, at least for the time being, and all is well in Inner Circle land, at least right now. And hopefully the Hager and Wardlow stuff will continue, because at some point they're going to be going at it. After that, we had six-man tag. Eddie Kingston, Butcher and the Blade taking on the Lucha Bros and Lance Archer. Apparently Penta had a knee injury or something like that, so prior to the match there was a brawl, and he was taken out by put through a table. So this turned it into a handicap match. Butcher and Blade wound up pinning Phoenix. He even looked like he got hurt again in this match, which is a little bit scary. They hit him with their finisher, I believe, and I believe there's even some more brawling here after the match. But Lance Archer, I think he went in and took everybody out. It's weird to see Lance Archer kind of in this babyface role, especially with Jake, and I don't know what the hell Jake was wearing. I guess he's more of a tweener than anything else, but maybe this can work for Archer. I don't know. Seems like an odd kind of feud that's going on here, at least having Archer involved here, but he really wants to get his hands on Eddie Kingston. Looks like they're building up Abaddon for a feud with Hikaru Shida, of course. She took on Tesha Price. Poor Tesha, scared shitless here. Abaddon comes out, does all of her stuff, beats her relatively quickly. This was a full-blown squash, so they're putting Abaddon over strong. And, of course, she spooked the hell out of Hikaru Shida last week. So Hikaru, after the match, Shida comes out. She's got a kendo stick. She gets in the ring, and she just blasts Abaddon like right in the face with the kendo stick. She goes down, but within like 10 seconds she sits up Undertaker style. I really like to see Shida a little freaked out like this. I think it's good. I like to see her kind of backing off, like, what the hell am I dealing with here? They're really, not putting a rush job on Abaddon, but she was kind of like an AEW dark person prior to this. Now she's right in this title feud, but at least it's something, because my biggest problem with a lot of these title programs so far is there hasn't been much of a story. It's just been, when Riho was a champion, she would just face somebody. And when Hikaru Shida was champion, it was kind of the same thing. Thunder Rosa or whoever it was, there's no real storyline or anything here. And I think that's something that kind of hurts the women a little bit. So I like all this Abaddon stuff. And I don't know, they might even, who knows, they might give the title to Abaddon. Because with a gimmick like that, you can't really have it lose clean and then come back and still be that scary threat. So it's like you either got to be champion or nothing in a gimmick like this. So we'll see if they put the belt on Abaddon and how interesting it'll be and how anybody's going to expect to take it off of her. Because Shida is a pretty dominant champion. You know, she's done pretty well. So for Abaddon to put her down, that's probably going to do a lot to intimidate a lot of the other women. Like, oh, who the fuck is going to be able to beat this person? Maybe Nyla Rose could. I don't know. But I'll have to see how I think about it. I'm not sure if I'm really for it or not. The character is ridiculous. It's so hideous. You know, her face, she comes out dripping blood out of her mouth, and she got the different colored eyeballs and the white makeup. She looks like a goddamn zombie. So I guess I like all of that, but still not 100% sure if I'm into her being champion. Why not? The women's division could use all the help it can get. I say try anything at this point because the women's division has really suffered. So this seems like a different road they've gone down. They haven't ventured down yet with the women. So let's give it a shot. So why not? That's what I say. Make sure about what's going on in the chat here. I'll nail any missing super chats here in a moment. That leaves us with another interesting part of AEW. Now, of course, Kenny Omega won the title at Winter is Coming, beat Jon Moxley, left kind of in a screw job type of scenario with Don Callis where they teased an appearance on Impact on the following Tuesday or whatever. So I watched that segment with, it was Josh Matthews. Oh, God, he's so insufferable. And Don Callis and Omega. And it wasn't that great. He didn't say a whole lot. Basically, Callis is just saying that he's the one that's been orchestrating this ever since they were kids, when they first started training in the business. This has been a plan that's been set in motion the whole time, and he's kind of been calling the shots here. And Omega kind of alludes to the fact that he's going to start collecting things. And, you know, he's already that AAA Mania champion or whatever the fuck he is. As a matter of fact, I think he defends that belt today or tomorrow or something, I believe, too. So it feels like they could be running an angle here where Kenny Omega is going to try to go around and get all of the world titles that are currently out there. They already have a working agreement with NWA, so he could get that title. And now it appears like they're going to have a working agreement with Impact because he's on fucking Impact. So if you do a match between Omega and who's the champ, Rich Swann? Or is it Impact that has a pay-per-view today? Somebody's got one. There's something going on right now. But don't leave this podcast to go find it because we're better. I suppose they could do a deal where Omega's got like a ton of belts. I wouldn't like totally hate that. But in terms of how he's coming off in a character, I'm not that into it. I'm all for Omega being champion. I've been waiting for this, but he is not the cleaner that he was in Japan, not even close. And he's got Callis doing a lot of talking for him, which is not that bad, but I think Omega is perfectly capable of cutting a decent promo on his own. I saw somebody comparing these two to Bobby Heenan and Nick Bockwinkel. Not even close. I don't know where that comparison came from, but it is not even close. Not even the same goddamn universe. And I like Kenny Omega, but no, there's no comparison there whatsoever between them and Bobby and Nick Bockwinkel. They were one of the best 1-2 punches, you know, in terms of two guys together that could both cut equally good and important promos. Bockwinkel was phenomenal, and of course, we all know what Bobby can do. They have no equal, you know. So I thought the comparison was a little bit silly. Even if that's what Omega and Callis are going for, you can't do better than that. And it was just kind of a little bit of an awkward interview. And he even teases basically some big announcement the following night, tomorrow night, turn into Dynamite. And, you know, and he dropped a Lex Express reference, which was weird. And, you know, he did the goodbye bang thing and all that shit. So I'm like, I wonder what the big surprise is. So now they come out to the ring on AEW and basically verbatim, which is a big problem for a lot of fans here, rehashed the entire promo from Impact. I understand Impact, you know, is online and they don't get, you know, Kenny Omega, I think, boosted their views a little bit, but it still doesn't get a lot of traffic. And, you know, AEW is on cable, much bigger audience. I understand that you're going to have to say some of the same things, but can you at least word it differently? Can you at least change up the order of it? Or maybe, you know, change a few words? He literally sounded like he was repeating himself, like they were just doing an encore of the promo that they did the previous night, which I thought they could have changed it up a little bit better than that. They did arrive on a helicopter, which maybe that was the Lex reference there, the Lex Express, because when Lex body slam Yokozuna on the Intrepid, he arrived in a helicopter. But so did Ric Flair. So did Charlotte Flair. Some people have done helicopters before. So they show up on a helicopter and, they get in the ring and say all the same shit they did before. And Kenny alluded to the fact that he wants to start collecting stuff. So that kind of ties into where, this belt collecting or this belt hunting might be going on with Kenny, which I'd be willing to see, especially if in the future, we all thought that, Moxley's going to drop the title because he's got to go to Wrestle Kingdom to drop the U.S. belt. That doesn't even, Tony Khan said Moxley's not even working Wrestle Kingdom. But it would be cool, if at some point Kenny could go work in Japan against someone with all those title belts or something. I don't know. That might be fucking fun if they were able to actually get to that point. But it's, I kind of like it. I like that, because you're never going to get this out of WWE. Even though Triple H says, we're open to work with anybody. No, you're not. You're fucking full of shit. You're open to work with anybody that's going to benefit you and you only. So I think, seeing AEW being able to, pull some of these other cards and continue to create fresh ideas and fresh matchups is nothing but a good thing. I would love to, AEW's association with NWA, I haven't even seen Shockwave yet, but I feel like that's really keeping NWA afloat, especially during the COVID. And this is going to help Impact immensely, even though back in TNA's heyday, they were doing double and triple the ratings that what AEW is doing now. Back when they were, even not head-to-head with WWE, but prior to that, when they were on TV, I know they were getting in close to the 2s, right? And 2 million viewers and shit. So they were doing a lot better than AEW is currently, but now the roles are really reversed and Impact really needs them. And I don't watch much Impact, I don't know much about what's going on over there. I know there's definitely some interesting matchups with this working agreement now, especially in the tag team division and the women's division. Gives us a couple of really awesome possibilities as well. But this all might be done for Omega to go over there and win the Impact title, which I don't think would really be a bad thing for Impact. I mean, this is a title belt that's, in the last year has been on Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, and Tessa Blanchard, so Omega brings them up, even if he doesn't work for the company or not. So I'd be perfectly fine with Omega grabbing that belt, bringing it onto AEW. That would be cool. That would be something that we haven't really seen in many, many, many years. Ever since like the, what was it? The back in the day, the Super Clashes. When you get you'd get WCCW and you get the AWA and NWA and everybody together to promote a big super show or whatever. It's kind of similar to that, and I think it's kind of cool. But so far, not really that impressed, even though it's only been a week with Kenny Omega's title run. I thought his Impact promo and the promo on AEW was somewhat of a letdown, or underwhelming, I guess would be a better word. And we'll just see if they keep picking up steam. But I ain't throwing in the towel yet. I think Omega is probably one of the best guys in the company to have the title. I have no idea. Like, when I look at Kenny Omega compared to like AJ Styles and all that, I have no idea why people think that Omega isn't a star. He's not as capable or anything like that. He's every bit as good as those fucking guys. He's no smaller, so you can't use the he's too little fucking excuse. If he was in WWE, I'm not sure if he'd be champion or anything, but he'd probably be Ricochet, actually, now that I think about it. But Kenny Omega, I think, is perfectly capable. I think a lot of these anti-Omega people are only anti-Omega because they're anti-AEW. It's all part of the war. It's all part of the stupid war that I call it, because that's what goes on between AEW and NXT fans. It's the stupid war. But Omega's great. I just think he needs to do a lot better with what he's currently doing. And so far, not terribly impressed. Hopefully that'll change. Main event was the match for the Dynamite Diamond. This was set up last week. Battle Royal, Cassidy and MJF were the last two in there. So they're going to face one-on-one here. There was lots of interference all over this match as well throughout it. Probably my favorite spot of all of Wednesday between both shows was the Eddie Guerrero spot, where, what the fuck happened? I think, who fell first? I forgot what the hell he did now. It was like MJF, had the chair or had the baseball bat, and he tried to hit himself and go down, and then Cassidy, that's what it was. And then Cassidy put his hands in his pockets. The referee had his back turned. So he's like, well, shit, the referee's going to turn around and your hands are going to be in your pockets. I'm not going to be able to fool him this way. So then he gets up, and then Cassidy goes down, falls down right when the referee turns around. That was fucking hilarious. That was very entertaining. Made me LOL, which was pretty great. In the end, Miro, who's showing up to work in his pajamas again, comes out there and absolutely annihilates Orange Cassidy, while the referee's all distracted, beats the shit out of him, very angry. We haven't seen angry Rusev yet, or angry Miro, I should say. Miro has been more of a comedy character doing the video game shit and all of that. We haven't seen, badass, scary, I can rip your head off Miro. Here we did. He put a serious hurting on Orange Cassidy, which was random and out of nowhere, and then went back up on the ramp and watched as MJF got the pin and got to secure the Dynamite Diamond for another year. So I don't know if this is setting up either an Orange Cassidy and Miro feud, or if it was a way to establish Miro as, okay, now he's going to be here starting to kill people, much like Lance Archer, instead of, doing the goofy shit with Kip Sabian and stuff. So I actually like that, because that's the Miro I've been wanting. I think a guy like Miro is awesome, and coming into AEW, he could be a good asset for them. But so far, much like Omega's run, Miro hasn't done a whole lot to impress me, and I want that to change because I like him a lot. So that was your AEW Dynamite in a nutshell. It was a very good show. I thought it was really, really entertaining. And like I said, it scored a big ratings victory over NXT, but I liked NXT more. I thought NXT was the better, more well-rounded show this week, which I can't believe I'm saying that, because this really was a good Dynamite. But I think it had a couple of letdowns there with the promo by the champion, it's things that Kenny Omega said and stuff like that was kind of a letdown. The Cody stuff was a little bit confusing. I thought the Brandy and Shaq interview was fucking stupid. And, other than that, it wasn't that eventful of a show. Even the Inner Circle Ultimatum was just like, okay. The only thing that I think I really, really enjoyed was the Sting promo with Tony and Cody. And I really liked Dustin being propositioned to become 7 in the Dark Order. But I think NXT, despite the ass kicking they got in the ratings, gave us the better show this week. I enjoyed it a lot. Before I get into that, let me just go up here and knock out a couple of super chats so I'm not ignoring people and saying hi to who's in here. I got over 100 people. Keep smashing that thumbs up button for me. I'd appreciate it very, very much if you could do that and keep the likes coming on the channel. Let's see. Where is the first super chat I missed? Stone Cold, I believe it's you. Yeah, it is. Stone Cold 10X. Welcome back, dude. Appreciate the $5. Met Sting and took a pic with him at Alamo City Comic-Con in 2016. Very nice guy. I've never gotten a picture with Sting, but I've heard he's a very nice guy, especially now, in his older days and stuff. And Sting is a legend. He really is. I have a lot of memories of Sting. I don't like it when a 20-year-old tries to tell me what Sting should and should not do. Motherfucker, you didn't watch this guy in his prime. I did. And I'm telling you, he's a legend, and he deserves to go out the way he wants and deserves to go out in a way that gives him peace. And that's all I want for Sting. And if I'm Sting, based on my career, like I said earlier, I've been wrestling 31 years, 28 of which was outside of WWE, and I don't want my last match to be inside of a company that I never worked for and that sucked. My last match sucked. So that wouldn't be an acceptable end for me. And if we're tolerating what The Undertaker put us through, all the way up to his, very, very underwhelming retirement ceremony a couple of weeks ago at Survivor Series, if we're going to put up with all that shit from The Undertaker when he had a perfectly acceptable retirement at WrestleMania 33, I think we can put up with just 1 or 2 appearances by Sting in AEW, maybe inside the ring, to send his career off the way he wants. And for anybody to resist that, I think makes him an asshole. Terry Allen Jr., thanks for the $5.20. That is a very specific super chat, and I appreciate it. I don't like regular tea, Greg, but Brink lemon tea or Nestea lemon tea I adore, and will you also? And you will also. I don't like tea at all. I've tried flavored stuff. There's no tea I will ever like. I grew up in the Carolinas, spent a big portion of my childhood there. Well, I all drank sweet tea. Sweet tea. I worked in the restaurants. We had to brew urns of this shit because it was the water of the South. I mean, it's all they drink is tea. And I never liked it. No matter how much sugar I put in there, it had a nasty taste. I don't drink coffee either. I've never spent a single dollar at Starbucks. Just don't like coffee or tea. Don't like it. And you ain't changing me, Terry Allen. Even for $5.20, I don't think you're going to be able to change my mind. So sorry, man. Was that the only other one on here? Let's see. Yep, I think that was it. All right, let's get into the NXT results now. Like I said, 659,000 viewers for NXT. Finn Balor opens up the show. Good to see him in the ring. I mean, sometimes I forget that he's even champion. He hasn't wrestled in a long time, but I think WWE knew They couldn't strip 2 champions back to back, so they just had to swallow this one and let Balor recuperate. He is in the ring talking, and he's joined by a lot of people. And at first I was like, oh crap, it's this tired old fucking trope they do. So he's in there. Pete Dunne comes out first, and he says he wants a shot at the title. Then Kyle O'Reilly comes out and says he wants a shot at the title. Then Damian Priest shows up and says he wants a shot at the title. So Finn Balor really doesn't want anything to do with this. He goes, this is between you guys. So he just up and leaves while the 3 guys are jaw-jacking with each other. So he does go on to say, though, I think he waits until he gets on the ramp to say this, but he says he will be defending the NXT title at New Year's Evil, which is great. Finally, we're going to get a defense by him, but he says depending on who he faces, that ain't up to me. That's up to Regal. Let's let you 3 jack-offs just go in there and have a good time, and we'll see what winds up happening. So what I was expecting to see was Regal coming out and saying, all right, there's going to be a triple threat match, or maybe if you got a 4th guy in there, they do the thing. Oh, we're going to have 2 separate singles matches, and the winner of those 2 faces each other, and then the winner of that gets the title shot. Some bullshit like that. But we didn't see Regal. Instead, we got Karrion Kross's music. Lights go out. Kross comes back. We saw the little promo for him at War Games, the little 30-second vignette or whatever it was. So we knew he was on his way back. Made his presence known here in the form of Scarlett, who comes out to the stage. And Finn looks at her and says, I'm ready for Kross if he's ready. Basically, if he's ready, I'm ready. Let's do it. And I'm really hoping that that's what turns out to be the match at New Year's Evil. It has to be. How can it be anything else? But they might be taking a little detour here because Damian Priest gets on the mic and tells Scarlett that she's got to fight all her man's battles for him, or deliver messages for him, or if he wants to be a real man, and face me face to face, or he can step up to me like a man, some bullshit like that. And she just kind of smiles and leaves. After that, I think Killian Dane popped in the ring, started fighting with Pete Dunne a little bit of a scuffle after the match or whatever, but they're kind of setting up the stage there for a potential match for Finn Balor, title defense, and it's going to be probably one of these 4 guys, and I think that at the end of it, Kross will come out as the challenger. I think maybe he needs a tune-up, maybe he needs a couple of matches in the ring first, kind of get ready for Balor, so they're going to either do a fatal 4-way or maybe do a couple of singles or whatever. Something like that's going to happen, I think, in the next couple of weeks on NXT until we determine the true number 1 contender. But I will be extremely disappointed if it's anybody else other than Karrion Kross. We said that the minute that he dropped the title, or he had to relinquish it, and then Balor was kind of the favorite to win it, and I'm like, well, there you go. You can just have Balor carry the title. He's going to be an interim champion, and then put it right back on Kross at the end, and maybe even potentially have a Kross and Demon match, which might be good. I mean, maybe Kross beats Balor for the title, and then Balor gets a rematch, but he fights the rematch as the Demon. That could be a good match, and then maybe Karrion beats him too. I think they had plans to really push Karrion strong, and he had a little setback, and I think they're willing to do it again. So I'm hoping that's the match we get. If it's anything else, like I said, it's going to be somewhat of a letdown. Random matches here that were okay, that I liked throughout the show. Solid matches, but nothing too eventful. Jake Atlas defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott with a roll-up. Grizzled veterans, grizzled young veterans, defeated Imperium and Everrise in a triple threat. I think Drake and Gibson hit the finish for the win there. We had a pretty interesting match between Tommaso Ciampa and Cameron Grimes, which I like because Grimes just came off of his loss in the strap match at War Games to Dexter Lumis, and Tommaso came off his victory against Timothy Thatcher. Thatcher was at ringside sitting in a chair. We had Tyler Rust coming out there to interfere. They recently did a name change for him, but Ciampa overcomes that distraction and is able to beat and hook Cameron Grimes in the Widow's Bell. Nails him with that DDT and gets the pin for the win there. After the match, Ciampa and Thatcher, who's on the outside of the ring, they have a couple of words with each other, kind of look at each other. And then after the match, Grimes gets out of the ring and he's all bent out of shape in Timothy Thatcher. And then Timothy Thatcher beats the shit out of him. Now, I mentioned in my War Games review that I think it would be a good idea whenever it seems like the feud between Tommaso and Thatcher is going to continue, but I feel like there's just a subtle little sign of some sort of mutual respect there. So since neither one of these guys, like I said, is in immediate title contention, unless they put one of them in the North American title picture or something like that, they're certainly not competing for the NXT World title right now. Tommaso Ciampa has already had a ton of injuries. He's probably already gotten a shortened career. I think if you team these guys up, they make an incredibly formidable tag team in your division and pretty much an unstoppable one that could they could have lots of benefits, like lightening the in-ring workload for Tommaso Ciampa. It's only got to work half the time now, potentially even extending his career, puts gold around both their waists, strengthens the tag team division, and makes them a really strong, badass, ass-kicking team that doesn't have to last forever. It can just be something to give them to do for a year or so, until they want to, move Thatcher on to something more important, because I love Timothy Thatcher. But he has dropped a few matches on TV and on pay-per-view clean, so he's clearly not maybe in direct competition to Karrion Kross or Finn Balor or anything like that, but can get there. So if you have him and Champa dominate the tag team division for a year, what's the harm in that? I see no downside at all. So I would love if whenever this runs its course, maybe they have one more match, Thatcher wins, then maybe they have a rubber match, and then maybe they kind of lead to the alliance, or maybe they don't do the alliance at all. I just think that based on what we've seen on TV, there's a subtle tease there, and I think that would be cool if they teamed up. And I'm going to keep mentioning that until they fucking do, because I really think it would be a good idea. Xia Li and Boa are still doing their thing. They've got this really creepy-ass vignette where they are just getting tortured by that mystery man that we saw, and apparently some mystery woman. You see a set of hands there with some really long fingernails and some really almost look like an Abaddon type of face there that, was kind of in the darkness. I don't know what Xia Li and Boa did to, deserve this. It's kind of like their penance. And Xia is like, she's kind of in workout gear and it's all dark, and she's, hammering her hands and her arms and her legs into this wooden apparatus. She's bleeding from the knuckles. Reminded me of Karate Kid Part 3 when Daniel joins Cobra Kai and Terry Silver's got him bashing and punching all this hard wood and Daniel's knuckles are getting busted open and shit. Kind of reminded me a little bit of that. And poor Boa is just taking kendo sticks to the back and the chest, and they're showing like slow-mo shots of the kendo, like just piercing the skin and penetrating through them. It was pretty gnarly. So they're getting flat out tortured. I have no idea what this is going to lead to and what the point is, but it's kind of interesting, and at least it gives you something to wonder about. What is this going to lead to? Apparently there is going to be some new mystery woman. Who it is, I have no idea. Let me know if you have any ideas, because I don't have a fucking clue. But I kind of liked it. It was only a minute long, but it was cool. After that, we had the big Gargano celebration. Johnny and Candice were both victorious at War Games, of course, and they have a couple of new friends with them. Indy Hartwell's been helping out Candice in recent weeks. And then at War Games, we saw the return of Austin Theory, who was one of the hooded guys, or the hooded Scream guys. We have no idea who the other ones are. It was just a way to reintroduce him, and then he had to do, it was me, Austin, all along, or whatever the fuck. So this is like, he's had a lot of different factions that he's been a part of here in the last year. Johnny comes out. They're all standing there together. Johnny's got the belt around his waist. He decides to name the faction. The name of this little group is called The Way. Okay, The Way. They wind up giving Candice, because she's now 2-0 at War Games, because last year she was on the babyface team and they won when Rhea Ripley was so dominant. So Candice is undefeated at War Games. So Johnny presents her with this beautiful trophy that he had shipped from Italy or something like that. It was a 1999 trophy from a little shitty trophy shop right down the street. It was fucking green. I used to get those things when I won bowling leagues and shit. And they put like a little plush doll or some sort of plush doll head of Shotzi Blackheart on the trophy. It looked terrible, and he tried to play it off like it was this big, expensive, elaborate gift, but it was stupid. And they're, Austin Theory is trying to be funny on the mic, and Johnny's like, you tried or whatever, and, kind of shut him down a little bit. So it looks like his gimmick or his character is kind of to be the young dumbass. It was even funny at one point when Johnny was revealing the trophy, he asks for a drum roll, and Indy Hartwell tries to do it with her tongue, and then Austin tries to do it with his pecs by moving them real fast. That actually was kind of funny. And then Gargano's like, nah, forget about it. Production, guys, hit me with a drum roll. And then he unveils the trophy, which was just stupid. Damian Priest comes out, and he starts coming down the ramp on the mic, and that's when he's ambushed by Karrion Kross. So we actually see Karrion Kross now, because we only saw Scarlett before, and Damian Priest says she does all her man's talking for him, and he just sits in the car and shit. So when he came out here and beat the shit out of Damian Priest, he just beat the shit out of him, walked away. Camera followed him all the way through the back door and into the car with Scarlett, who had that crazy outfit on with like the spikes. I don't know how she was sitting in that car. Imagine like getting into a car with the Road Warrior spikes on. That was kind of like what she had to deal with there. I don't know how she was managing that. But Karrion got in the car and sped away. So that might be your tune-up match. Karrion and Damian Priest or they might incorporate, the other guys in there as well and try to figure out who the number one contender is. Like I said, when the dust settles, it better goddamn be Karrion Kross. And I still think that Priest is going to get another crack at that North American title. I said all along that I think Johnny should drop that in his first defense. That would be fun. I wasn't even aware of the Sasha Banks streak, 7 in a row or whatever it was. I wasn't even aware of that until this year. I had no idea that she had done that. But Johnny, being a 3-time champion now, I think would be kind of funny if he dropped them all in his first defense and giving the title back to Damian Priest that he didn't really have a chance to hold on to for very long to begin with. Might be a good consolation prize for him. Okay, you're going to go do the job and you're going to get beat by Karrion Kross, but you'll wind up winning the North American title after that or something. That's still kind of what I want to see for him. I don't think I want to see Priest or O'Reilly or Pete Dunne in the world title picture at the moment, not when Karrion Kross is sitting there. So I think you got to do Balor and Kross at some point whenever this shit happens. After that, they had the Pete Dunne and Killian Dane match that was kind of set up earlier on in the night. Pete Dunne beat him. Drake Maverick was out there too, all messing around, continuing his deal with Killian Dane. I feel like they might form a tag team too at some point, Drake and Dane. Just one big guy, one little guy. They'll probably win the titles, knowing them. And then the main event was a great one. Raquel Gonzalez versus Ember Moon. I'm a big fan of Raquel Gonzalez right now. I thought she was very impressive at War Games. Really like her look, really like her ring style. She handles being a big wrestler well, just with her moves and what she can do and her power, and she utilizes it well. She's believable. She's got presence. She seems to be, timing wise and ring smarts wise, she seems to have all of that. And I am all for her push. And Ember Moon is a big test here for her. And she really displayed a lot of her power here. I don't know why they still had that big steel thing or that big apparatus on the outside of the ring. Looked like it was left over from the pay-per-view or something, and it's near the announce tables. And Ember decides to climb up it, I guess to jump onto Raquel Gonzalez, but Raquel gets up, and Ember, who is no small girl, jumps off that thing, and Raquel just catches her in midair, and then just posts her in a great spot. And an almost equally good spot was when Ember went for the Eclipse, and Raquel caught her right in midair. Just nobody's done that, just caught her, just fucking yanked her right up, picked her up in the one-arm powerbomb, slammed her down, got the win. Clean, definitively big win for Raquel Gonzalez, and I'm all for that. So I think that's probably the match they're going to do, although Rhea Ripley, I believe, made her presence known. There was kind of another stare down there, and Rhea and Raquel have already had a battle, which Rhea won. So it makes me think that if they're gearing up Raquel to face Io Shirai, she might have to beat Rhea Ripley on her road to do that, or you make a triple threat or something like that. I don't know. On New Year's Evil, but I think it might be time. As much as I love Io Shirai, my God, the trash can thing, she'll be my favorite forever after that spot at War Games. But, she's held the belt for a while. You need some new faces. Raquel's big, powerful, impressive, and getting over. A lot of people like her. I say, why not? I'm all in the fuck it category. I mean, at this point, I'm like, yeah, do it. Put the belt on Raquel Gonzalez. Why not? What is the downside at all? Hopefully they can treat Raquel a little bit better than they did Rhea when she won the title, dropped it to Charlotte, and and the rest of her year was kind of shit. But they're still keeping Rhea, relevant as well, and maybe she puts over Raquel Gonzalez before heading up to the main roster. Maybe she'll have a match with Raquel. Raquel will beat her. Rhea will go away, and then she'll appear in the Royal Rumble or something and possibly even win it. I love Bianca Belair. She's on the top of my list right now to win the Royal Rumble. But you got to remember, you also have most likely an Elimination Chamber or some other match in February that will determine the other challenger to the other title. So you could have Rhea winning the Royal Rumble, challenging the Raw champion, who at that point could be Charlotte again. And you could have Bianca winning the Chamber to challenge the SmackDown champion. Could work. Doesn't have to be the Royal Rumble. So I think if you moved Rhea to the main roster after she puts Raquel over, and then Raquel beats Io Shirai, that's a pretty impressive run for Raquel, just like Rhea had last year. Really impressive War Games victory, followed by a couple of big singles wins against Ember Moon and Rhea Ripley on her path to the title match, and then she beats Io. Can't really be put over more than that. So I'd be all for that happening, and maybe that can also give Rhea Ripley a little gravitational bump to go off and do whatever she's going to do on the main roster, because, we did read the report that when Charlotte was in NXT, apparently the original plan was not for Charlotte to beat Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. And it was kind of changed later. And apparently the Raw creative team were really reluctant to work with the NXT creative team, and they wanted certain things for Charlotte and shit like that. So maybe just being on the main roster would be better for Rhea Ripley or something like that. I don't know. But we'll see where it leads. But right now, I'm kind of happy with the women's division. I think it's fucking solid. I think it's about as solid as it's been since the glory days down there. So I think they're doing good, and I'm big on Raquel Gonzalez, so good for her. So overall, like I said, I thought that was the more well-rounded show. They set up a lot of stuff. They planted a lot of seeds for New Year's Evil. We can kind of see the direction of a lot of stuff. We got some, confusing storylines as well with the Xia Li and Boa stuff, and Gargano was formed as new faction. We got Karrion Kross back in the mix, and a big show coming up at the beginning of the year with a couple of big title defenses, and we could see some major shit go down there. So I thought NXT gave us the better, well-rounded show. AEW still fun, still wacky at times, but I think AEW had a few more cons than pros, and NXT had a whole lot of pros on this show. So very good. Got their ass whooped in the ratings, but they gave me personally the better show. So congrats to NXT for winning this week. Barry, that's all you drink is tea? They drink that shit in Hawaii? I didn't even know that. Yeah, I don't know. I understand that I'm the weird one. I'm not saying that everybody's weird for drinking tea. I'm saying I'm weird for not drinking it. So certainly wasn't an insult. I've just never drank it ever, coffee or tea. Never gave a shit. Oh yeah, the Gargano dance was funny. My God, he was out there wearing his Don Johnson outfit or whatever from the fucking 80s. That belt. Oh my God. Yeah, Raquel could be the next China. Yeah, she could be. She's big enough. I think she's even, better than China. I mean, China was brought in as the bodyguard, and she got in the ring eventually and was pretty good. But I think Raquel is just really good in the ring. She's solid. She's like a test. I was going to say Kevin Nash, but I think she even works or moves around a little bit better than Kevin Nash. So maybe somebody like Test. She's got the size and she can do shit. Test could jump off the top rope with a top rope elbow. Raquel doesn't need to do that, but I think she probably could if she wanted to. So. Oh, thanks. I'm glad I got some backup on that, Stone Cold. Appreciate that. All right, let's run into SmackDown now. Just roll through the results. Kind of a lackluster show last night, and then we'll talk about the TLC card and what could potentially happen there. In terms of Monday night. Excuse me, what fucking day is it? Saturday. Monday night's Raw. No official preview yet from WWE's side. I did a review on this past week's Raw on Monday, so you can go check that out. And we saw the main event there with Bray Wyatt changing forms into The Fiend. And based on what we saw here last night on SmackDown as well, they have now given us 2 TLC matches a week early. We got Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton on Monday, and last night we got Carmella and Sasha Banks. That's weird. Even though the Bray Wyatt match is going to be very different than the Fiend match, it's still the same fucking guy, and it's weird that they're giving us this shit back to back. But anyway, in terms of last night's SmackDown, we had Kevin Owens opening up the show. He's got tables, ladders, and chairs in the ring with him. He's calling them his friends because Roman has got his family and his friends behind him, and he's got some friends too, and they're named Chair, Table, and Ladder. And he talks about how they're all going to help him beat Roman Reigns at the pay-per-view. He's then attacked. Roman is backstage, by the way, watching all this on the monitor. He's then attacked from behind by Jey Uso when he's up on the ladder talking. Jey attacks him, assaults him with a chair. Owens fights back, winds up powerbombing Jey through the table and putting him down. That brings Roman out to the stage, and Kevin Owens like, bring it, man. Come on, let's go right now. And then Heyman is sitting there saying, don't do it. You don't do it on his time, you do it on your time. So Roman kind of refuses, backs off, and goes away. I go to commercial, and I think they come back. Kevin Owens is storming through the backstage area looking for Roman Reigns. He's interviewed by Kayla Braxton, and when he's talking, he's then attacked from behind by Roman Reigns, who just lays him out and beats the shit out of Kevin Owens backstage, and then introduces himself to the Owens family and shit like that. So trying to get a little bit on the personal side there between those two. I said when this feud was made, or this match was kind of teased for TLC, I think Owens is the perfect opponent for Roman Reigns right now because, he just got done beating the shit out of his cousin all fall. Let's get an actual former champion, somebody that can stand toe-to-toe with you in a main event and on the mic like Kevin Owens can. Kevin Owens is fearless, as much of a son of a bitch asshole that Roman is. Owens doesn't care. And that just makes a great opponent for him because Roman's going to be champion until WrestleMania. So everybody that sits in front of him now is going to get beat. And I think Kevin Owens is a really good quality opponent for Roman to run through on his way to WrestleMania. And I think we could potentially even get a rematch here between these two at some time. I'm not sure If they can extend a feud between these two guys all the way until the Royal Rumble, that might be a lot to ask, but they could. Otherwise, they might do a one-off on TLC, or maybe the match at TLC and then a rematch on SmackDown. Maybe another title match, one-on-one, no chairs, no tables, shit like that, and then Roman beats him again, or at least holds on to the title, one or the other. But for now, I'm looking forward to that match at TLC. That's probably going to be pretty good. Plus, it's a TLC match, and you know these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other, and Roman is going to look badass and strong. I kind of went out of order here. I got all my results kind of jumbled up here. I wanted to talk about the Baron Corbin promo backstage. Of course, he had those two mystery guys with him last week that turned out to be Cutler and Blake, formerly of the Forgotten Sons. And backstage, Baron decides to introduce them to us. And he goes, I would like to introduce you to the Knights of the Lone Wolf. So they're going to be his backups now. And I like that he's calling them the Knights of the Lone Wolf. He also called himself King, but I'm hoping that this is the beginning of them dropping that ridiculous King Corbin shit. I hated that with the crown and the cape and everything. And who knows if they kind of get away from that, because they do that every time. Wasn't Sheamus the King and a lot of other guys the King, and they walk around in the shit for a little while and then they just drop it. So maybe WWE wants to do another King of the Ring here shortly, which I think Xavier Woods really wants to win. And then maybe this is the beginning of Baron Corbin kind of shedding that King thing and maybe going back to being the Lone Wolf, which I think is just much better for him. And speaking of the Forgotten Sons, apparently Jackson Riker is back, and he was kind of left off TV for a while after some, strange tweets and shit like that. But he's now back. He worked main event teaming up with Elias. And apparently this is a dry run. Apparently this was a test for WWE just to see how he looked with him and how their chemistry was and maybe what the fan reaction was and all of that. And Jackson went on to tweet something to allude to the fact that he's going to be doing more with Elias. So it looks like he's going to be now moved into being in a sidekick role with Elias rather than a faction leader with the Forgotten Sons. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to really mean much for him. Elias, as much as I like him, doesn't do anything anyway. He does the same shit every week, comes out, starts to sing, somebody interrupts him, match. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. Same thing all the time. So now he just has Jackson there with him. So I don't think it really means much at all. We had Sami Zayn taking on Big E in a non-title match. And this one was interesting as well because Sami Zayn, during the match, escapes out of the ring and he crawls under the ring. Big E chases him under the ring. They come out on the other side. Sami spits out, but Big E is grabbing his foot. And the referee by then is already up to like a 7 or 8 count. Sami starts putting the boots to Big E's head and gets in the ring just in time, and Big E gets counted out. So I thought for sure Big E would just smash Sami Zayn, and then maybe that would lead to an Intercontinental title match at TLC. I suppose it still could. There's one more week left on the go home. They could set this up next week and give Big E a title shot at TLC because I don't think the card is fully finalized yet. That could happen. But what was interesting is that later on, I didn't watch it. You guys all sent me the link of Big E on Talking Smack with Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman it was a great segment. I mean, you could see Paul Heyman, even not in character, Paul Heyman wants Big E to, be a big deal. And he gave him this really big, kind of motivational speech. And he talked about, your legacy and your run with the New Day, as great as it is, when you look back 10 years from now on your career, you shouldn't even be thinking about the New Day. That should be nothing compared to what you have the potential to do. And then he brought up a really good point. He goes, look at Roman Reigns. When was the last time in the last, couple of years that Roman Reigns has been in the ring that anybody has mentioned the Shield? And he's right about that. Roman has really broken away from who he was in the Shield, and some bad, some good, because he had that run as a babyface there that everybody liked, and everybody missed his days in the Shield. But what he's doing now, especially now, I like this Roman now than I liked Roman with the Shield, and that was the biggest Shield mark there ever was for those of you who've been listening to me since 2013. You remember I was high on the Shield, loved them as a group, never wanted them to lose. So I really liked that. That was really it was a really intense kind of come to Jesus meeting almost for Big E. And he kind of sat there and didn't say much. He just kind of listened and took it in and even nodded his head a little bit. And that could be a little bit of foreshadowing if they do something that I would love to see. And that is like Big E winning the Rumble or the Chamber. Doesn't have to be the Rumble. And going on to WrestleMania to face Roman for the title. And I think he's one of 4 guys Roman could work with. Roman could work with Rock. Roman could work with Brock. Roman could work with Goldberg. Or he can work with somebody currently on the roster. Rock, Brock, and Goldberg, they're fucking no. So putting somebody over like Big E might be great, and this would be a good callback, especially during the build when Paul Heyman can be in the ring with Roman and Big E can be in the ring after he wins the Rumble or the Chamber, and Paul Heyman goes, "Do you remember back in December when I talked to you on Talking Smack? Let's roll the clip." And then they can show that. So I think this could be a little bit of seed planting on their own there or at least keeping their options open for what they do with Roman Reigns. Because one thing we all know about WWE, I guarantee you, those fools have no idea who Roman is facing at WrestleMania. They do not have those plans yet. So I think they're just keeping their options open, see where it goes, and we'll see. That's why they got the Goldberg stuff going on. Rock is doing interviews where he's talking about being open to working with Roman Reigns. And of course, when Brock comes back, there's going to be a natural something going on there because Roman is with Heyman now. So Brock can come back and be like, what the fuck? You didn't even tell me you were associating yourself with this guy. Would have appreciated a phone call, and then maybe you got a conflict and a match there. Or Brock accepts Roman and be like, hey, why don't we just dominate together? I'll go over here and win the world title. You keep the universal title, and we will be the two-man power trip that owns the business. They could go that direction too. I don't know. But either way, when he comes back, something's going to have to happen with Roman. It's just going to have to. So just like CM Punk, remember, Heyman was advocating for Punk while Brock was on one of his hiatuses after WrestleMania 29. And then he came back, confronted CM Punk, hit him with the F5, and then they were off and running at SummerSlam. So something like that could happen there. It's interesting. We'll just have to see where they take Big E. But watching him lose to Sami Zayn via count out on SmackDown wasn't fun. Let's hope it gets better for Big E. Liv and Ruby teamed up. Riot Squad are back together to take on Billie Kay, who needed to find herself a partner. She found herself Natty. Very strange. They break up Peyton and Billie only to put them with partners on their own shows. Fucking stupid. Classic example of WWE heads up their asses. In the end, Ruby Riot pins Billie Kay for the win. Natalia's all mad at Billie Kay. And they're trying to make Billie Kay into a little character. She's giving her resume out to everybody, joining, the commentary team a couple of times and just being loud and obnoxious and being very Billie Kay-ish. So now Natty is mad at her. Maybe that'll lead to a match between Natty and Billie. If it does, I don't care. Like I said, the extremely stupidly predictable one-on-one match. They do the same shit on Raw. They're doing the same thing on Raw with the New Day and the Hurt Business. Same fucking thing. So last week we had Ziggler and Rude beating Street Profits, I think, in the non-title. Now we're going to do the two singles matches. We get Ziggler and Montez Ford here. Next week, I guarantee you, we're going to get Bobby Roode and D'Angelo Dawkins. Roode got all involved in this. And Ziggler and Montez is a great match, like on paper. But it's just going to be this, run-of-the-mill stupid match to set up a tag team title match at the pay-per-view. Robert Roode, all sorts of involvement here, caused a distraction enough for Montez for, I think, Ziggler to knock him off the top rope or something, and wound up getting the win over Montez. So next week, that probably means Dawkins will beat Bobby Roode, I guess. And then that will lead to a title match at the pay-per-view, I guess, which will be, that'll give us two tag team matches at the pay-per-view, tag team title matches, that is. We also had Otis and Chad Gable, who have kind of had that recent pairing. Gable is trying to mentor Otis. Haven't been paying much attention to this storyline because it doesn't seem like it's going to change anything for either guy. They lost here to Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke pins Gable with the Kinshasa, and that was it. So Otis and Gable. It's funny that Gable's trying to motivate Otis, and he's the one that took the loss here. So I don't know. Not paying much attention to that storyline. Don't really care about it. Love Gable. Would love WWE to stop being idiots with him, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. We then had this scared a lot of fans. This is the main event stuff. First of all, earlier on the night, we're supposed to have a contract signing between Carmella and Sasha Banks for their SmackDown Women's Championship at TLC. During the contract signing, Carmella refuses to come out there. Sasha is in the ring. She's there waiting. Carmella is up on the screen, and she says she's got a sommelier with her, some sort of a lackey that they've got. I believe his name is, I wrote it down, name is Akeem Young. He tweeted out something kind of revealing that it was him. Must be a PC guy. So she says that he's the one that's going to take the contract down there or whatever. And then Sasha winds up proposing the match after the lackey comes out there and gives her the contract, and they're talking shit. Sasha's like, hey, why don't we just do it tonight? The hell with TLC? Why don't we just do the title match right here, right now, tonight? And Carmella's like, Okay, sure, why not? And then Sasha goes on to beat up Carmella's lackey and kick his ass or whatever, and that would set up the main event of the night. Now, the reason this scared a lot of people, I saw it on Twitter all night. Of course, I couldn't respond to it. I saw it on Twitter. Everybody was like, oh, God, they're going to give Carmella the title. Because if you noticed, we didn't talk about this when we mentioned Dynamite. They have announced, I guess, Snoop Dogg for next week on Dynamite. Is it next week or is it a different Dynamite? I can't remember if it's next week or not. Anyway, they've advertised Snoop for a future appearance on Dynamite. Pretty sure that it's going to be this week. And a lot of fans are like, I wonder if WWE is going to be pissed off about that, because Sasha Banks, of course, is related to Snoop. He does her theme song, and WWE lives in their own stupid WWE bubble, and they expect people who should have no loyalty to them whatsoever to have loyalty to them. And oh my God, are they mad at Snoop, and they're going to punish Sasha for it. I understand that WWE's stupid. I don't think they're that petty. They got to understand Snoop is his own man. He answers to nobody, just like Shaq has been in the WWE a bunch of times. He's in AEW now. And for Snoop to go over there and make an appearance there is something that he has every right to do. He was even on that show with Cody. So that should have pissed WWE off before this does. So Snoop making an appearance at AEW had the fans worried that WWE is going to be so pissed off about that they were going to take the title belt off Sasha Banks. I understand that WWE's dumb, but they spent a lot of time and invested a lot in that Sasha and Bayley storyline and angle for Sasha to finally come out on top and win the belt. To take that belt off of her on a TV match against Carmella would require an amount of insanity that even the WWE doesn't have, I don't think. But a lot of people were convinced, especially since the match was the main event, that Sasha was going to drop the belt here because of Snoop. I'm sure WWE isn't thrilled about Snoop being there, but to punish Sasha for that, that's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know, like what's the analogy I'm looking for there? All you're going to do is hurt yourself. All you're going to do is hurt your own internal storylines and your own TV quality and your own superstar, and you're going to downgrade them all because you're mad at Snoop. Doesn't add up. Didn't think that was going to be the case here, although I was surprised that they were doing this match, and it had me thinking the same thing, because why are we getting this match right before we're already going to get it in a week? Just like we got Orton and Bray Wyatt. Not sure if that's the best pay-per-view building formula there, to give two of your matches away already that they're already booked. And now the pay-per-view's gonna have two rematches on it. So not sure how smart that was. The match was good. I was watching it kind of gritting my teeth a little bit because I was really hoping that Sasha Banks would not drop the title. The lackey is out there. Akeem Young is out there trying to interfere in the match. So Sasha already beat his ass during the contract signing. She actually hits him with the backstabber and rolls into the bank statement as well. Kicks the poor guy's ass. Carmella gets back in the ring, and then Sasha just goes nuts. She just gets her in the corner and just starts pummeling her. Little Nate is doing the 5 count, and Sasha is not relenting. She's just stomping a fucking mud hole and beating Carmella to death. Robinson has no choice but to call for the bell and DQ Sasha Banks, so Carmella wins the match, but Sasha retains the title. So now we still will get the title match at TLC. But the big news here is Sasha did not drop the belt, thank God. In the end, Carmella regains control, and they continue the fight. Carmella is also another reason why they were really telegraphing that she might win the title, is Carmella set up a whole champagne table. She already had the sommelier with him. Let me tell you something. This motherfucker is a sommelier. He would not have picked Corbell. Corbell is piss. Corbell is trash. Corbell is crap. If you're some big superstar, you are not drinking Corbell. You're drinking Veuve Clicquot. You're drinking Perrier-Jouet. You're drinking Cristal. You're drinking something like that, not goddamn Corbell. Come on, WWE. Come on. And so she winds up beating the shit out of Sasha. They had one bottle there that was clearly made out of sugar glass. Didn't match the other bottles. Sasha's trying to pull herself up on the in-outs table, and Carmella smashes the bottle right across the back of Sasha, putting her down. And then she pours the Corbell and drinks it. And she's like, that's good. And the show goes off the air. No, Carmella, it's not good. It's horrible. That's the type of shit you use for mimosas. You know, pour orange juice in there, or pour pomegranate juice in there, or pineapple juice, or something like that, and flavor it up. When you do a drink like that, you use shitty champagne. That's what Corbell is, and that, to me, as a restaurant guy, was very, very funny. So anyway, Carmella luckily did not win the title. I still feel like Sasha's run is safe. I think at TLC, even though WWE's probably mad at Snoop or whatever, I think it would be silly to pass the belt to Carmella here. I know Carmella just recently turned heel. She even had a brand new entrance on SmackDown. Maybe it wasn't brand new, but I'd never seen it before. So there's a lot of new investment going into her presentation and everything, but putting the belt on her would be such a letdown. It would be like, after Charlotte, because I've always defended Charlotte beating Asuka. I did not think that was the worst thing in the world. I actually thought the match was really good. I didn't lose my mind. I didn't crap on my hands and fucking eat it like the rest of the fucking wrestling audience did. I was fine with it. What I got upset about was what they did after the fact. And one of those things, I believe, was Carmella beating Charlotte Flair. I'm like, what the fuck, man? She just had the biggest win of her career, just a couple of months ago. And I feel like this would be the same thing, sort of, if they have, Sasha Banks finally this big payoff where she wins the belt. And I think Sasha is also somebody that should probably hold that belt until WrestleMania. That's what I would prefer. So for her to drop it either on TV or, of all pay-per-views, the December pay-per-view, which always sucks, I would be hugely disappointed if they did that. So I am rooting very, very hard for Sasha Banks at TLC. Speaking of TLC, here's what I got written down for the card. I think there's 6 confirmed matches, and we're at least going to get 2 more, I think. So we've got Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against AJ Styles, Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Kevin Owens. We have Randy Orton taking on The Fiend, Sasha Banks defending the SmackDown Women's title against Carmella, Asuka and Lana got a title shot against tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And we also have the New Day taking on the Hurt Business for the Raw tag team titles. And that leaves a couple of openings here. One of them is what we talked about here on SmackDown. We could possibly see Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler taking on the Street Profits. But if they do that, that is going to give us 3 tag team title matches on TLC. That might be too much. One is absolutely going to have to go on the kickoff, for sure. Probably that one, actually. Probably Ziggler and Roode and Street Profits, because I think the Hurt Business have a legitimate shot to beat the New Day. I do. I kind of hope they do, actually. So, and Asuka and Lana, I think with all the victories they've gotten over Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, they probably will lose that match. So you could probably put the women or Street Profits and Roode and Ziggler. One of those 2 matches absolutely has to go on the pre-show for this pay-per-view to make any sense. And they could also potentially add maybe Monday night, Lashley versus Bobby Roode. What am I saying? Lashley versus Riddle. Roode was written above there. Lashley versus Riddle for the U.S. title. They could add that, but I also think you could leave that one off and let that one grow a little bit on TV, or maybe even just do it on Raw. There's nothing wrong with that either, because Raws suck and they're tough to get through. Last week on Monday, I was literally walking around my backyard just hoping to slip into a wormhole that would transport me 1 hour into the future because the show was dragging. So you could do Lashley and Riddle on Raw. I've really been advocating hard for Lashley to hold on to the title for a long time. If he's running into somebody like Riddle, that could end early. But even though I knew WWE would never do this, if it was up to me, I would keep the U.S. title on Lashley until SummerSlam and give him a title shot against whoever the Raw champion is at SummerSlam. Do it like the Cena and Seth thing, do the title for title deal if you have to, but really build Lashley up on an undefeated kick-ass streak with a long U.S. title run, best in modern history kind of thing, putting down everybody in his wake, including Riddle and everybody else. And then you put him head-to-head with whoever the Raw champion is, McIntyre, Brock, who knows? Would be interesting if Brock came back and Heyman represented both guys, but on separate shows. That might be a good way to keep them apart, and maybe hold back the feud between them. That could happen as well. And that would finally give us the match that we've all been wanting for quite some time, Lashley versus Brock. The only problem with that is that's going to mean Brock has got to come back and win the world title. And if that happens, people are going to not be really happy about that. They might be slightly perturbed. We all know that, what is the George Carlin line? The internet doesn't have pet peeves. They have major psychotic fucking hatreds. So that would definitely come out if Brock came back and won the title. Damn, David, where have you been? Got back from Christmas shopping. Stone Cold IPA is delicious. I'm going to be drinking it on Friday night. We're going to stay here on Friday night about an hour after SmackDown goes off the air. In about a week, we're going to come up here and I'm going to open up those trading cards, drink a couple of beers, shoot the shit, hang out, talk about whatever happened on SmackDown, answer questions in the chat. It's going to be a fun Friday hangout. So if you want to watch me enjoy the Stone Cold IPA, you can do that on Friday. Should be fun. Deshaun, thanks for the $2, dude. Sammy's new WWE shirt got a chuckle out of me. I haven't seen it. What does the shirt say? Did he wear it on SmackDown? I don't pay attention. Remember the other week when Big E had new music and I didn't notice? That's me. That's Greg. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't mention that. Drew and AJ is going to be a great match. But Drew and Roman's titles to me are safe, and that's why I like both of these matches, because I think they're both really good quality opponents for both guys. Both believable, both credible, both well-liked and respected by the wrestling audience, and both former world champions. No two better guys for Drew and Roman to mow down than them. I think Drew will probably maybe even have some sort of face-to-face with that bodyguard or something at TLC. That might be an interesting visual. But in the end, Drew's got to beat him, right? He has to. Marcus Metcalf, Carmella, thanks for the $5, brother. Carmella already stole Kelly Kelly's moveset. Kelly had a moveset? For real? With a Bronco Buster, Flying Head Scissors, and X Factor. Now she stole the stripper entrance as well. I completely forgot that Kelly even had a moveset. But so she did the Buster, Flying Head Scissors for real, and the X Factor, and that's what Carmella does. Yeah, maybe they're taking a lot of influence from that, with that whole deal. Because it felt like Carmella was coming in like Eva Marie and Emelina and like a gimmick that they've already failed with a couple of times. I'm like, why are they trying it again? Don't keep getting back up on that horse, because it's a stupid horse and nobody wants to see that shit anyway. So now maybe they're making her a little bit more like Kelly, and she's out there drinking the champagne, although it's just piss. Didn't even think about that. Well, good for her. Who would have thought that a current wrestler in modern times is going to use Kelly as an influence on your in-ring work? That doesn't even sound right. Checking my messages here. Did I see, sorry about that, David, did I see that Sting's first match being against, do you see Sting's first match being against Cody or Darby? Yeah, I kind of mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure if he's going to face Darby. I think it might have something to do with Cody, though, and I think somebody like Sting, who's very limited medically, perhaps, if they are going to have the guts to put him in the ring, AEW probably would want him in there with an executive, somebody with a little power, somebody with experience and can take care of him and do what's right type of thing. Cody might be that guy. They could do a tag match with Sting and Darby and Cody and someone else, or who knows. But I talked a lot about the Sting stuff, so if you want to hear that, just rewind a little bit back to the AEW stuff, and I get into all of my opinions on Sting being in the company, his use of him, what they might do, what he might win and not win, and shit like that. So if you can scroll back a little bit, you'll hear all my thoughts on that. And that pretty much wraps it up for my notes. I got nothing else to say here notes-wise, and we finished up exactly on 2 hours. I've been streaming for 2 hours exactly, maybe 2 hours and like 4 minutes or something like that. So this is a pretty healthy podcast. No, Barry, you are not going to do I'm not going to do a best of Kelly video. I'm denying that one. Barry comes up with the most random ass videos. This one he did tomorrow, I think it's only going to be 30 minutes long, because I recorded about 40 minutes, and I think I'm probably going to edit down that to 30. That could even probably wind up being a 25-minute review. I did my best to elaborate, but there was not a lot of substance to that show. It was just parading chicks out there in their bra and panties and Jerry Lawler being a complete goddamn idiot. Other than that, there's not really much to discuss. So I tried to throw out a couple of memories and a couple opinions about some of the women and some of the storylines and the Tough Enough stuff and how much I loved Linda Miles back then. But other than that, I don't get into a whole lot, but I definitely reviewed it. And we talked about everything all the way down to Mae Young making out with Lawler and him puking in his hat, and, Jazz attacking Trish, and fucking Rico. My God, that thing, it was so crazy. I would have never watched it, never even thought to watch it again had you not sponsored that video, man. So it's going to be out tomorrow. Just keep a lookout. WWE Divas Undressed 2002. Oh, Kelly expose. Was that at the beginning of ECW when they revamped that? I think is when they were doing the Kelly stuff. That was the first time I had ever seen her. Oh, thank you. I'll take a look at that, man. Oh yeah, that's a funny t-shirt. It's $28, huh? Plus shipping. It's probably a $32 shirt. I like it. I am Sami Zayn. It's very cute. He's got the beard and the hat and the Castro thing. That's pretty cool. Oh, you wanted me to do a 5-hour review on Divas Undressed? I could try. I don't know what I would talk about. It was funny, even like their little routines, they would come out. There was only 10 seconds long. They come out there, they'd spin around, show their ass. I think Terry brought out a chair one time, and there's a lot of cuts to the judges who are just like losing their minds, like Edge. Paul Heyman's got that little disposable camera that I used to take with me to wrestling shows. Same exact one, little yellow Kodak camera. I used to have a bunch of those things, and all of my pictures are from house shows and from WWE events are taken with those. That's why all the pictures suck. I have been a slack bastard, David, on the t-shirt stuff. I was working a little bit with Dan Price on getting some new designs done to throw up on the pro wrestling tees, but I have really been procrastinating on that a lot because I had a couple of other side things that I was trying to do internally for the channel, and that just keeps being put on the back burner. But I really got to get on that. I vow in 2021 to have some new stuff and some new material up there. It's just been a weird year. You know, COVID screwed everything up. COVID drastically affected the channel. You know, prior to COVID, Winged Eagle Podcast had 300 to 500 people here at a time. We got 96 now. I think wrestling is just down in a downswing or something. It's just weird. But I'll be getting my act together. And like I said, we got a huge December, man. We're going to close out 2020 very strong. I've got so much shit planned. I typed up what I thought was going to be the schedule, but I didn't put it up on YouTube because I wasn't sure if I'd change some of these dates. But like I said, tomorrow we got the Divas Undressed. I'll be up here Monday for the Raw review. Next Friday, we're going to do a live stream fun night, drinking stone cold beer, opening WCW trading cards, chatting whatever happened on SmackDown, shit like that. Just a hangout, random hangout for the holidays. The next day, we got the podcast. 1 week from today, podcast TLC predictions. 1 week from tomorrow, TLC review. 1 week from Monday, another Raw review. And then the plan is Tuesday, at least right now, tentatively, I'm going to do a live stream on my top 10 favorite tag teams of all time. This is another Patreon-sponsored review, but it's going to be in live stream form. And I was toying with the idea of doing an AEW Dynamite watch-along on the 23rd. The problem is, if I do that, that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight nights of streaming. I don't know if I can pull that off or not. So the only tentative one is the 23rd watch-along. If I can do it, I will. If I think it's too much, I won't. And then either the 30th or the 31st, year-end Q&A. Send your questions right now over to goodmikework@gmail.com or wait until the night of the Q&A, and I'll answer most shit in the chat, and I'll answer every single super chat that comes in. We'll hang out. I'll open up some Jericho Bubbly, and we'll toast in the new year. And if the stay-at-home order here in California lasts longer than the 3 weeks, I will be home on New Year's Eve, so I will actually do it on New Year's Eve. We will ring in the new year together, and that might be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for all the announcements on that, and should be a fun month. A lot of videos. We'll probably have like anywhere of 10 more videos between now and the end of the month. It's a lot, so I'm going to be busy, and you guys are going to be busy listening to me. I just saw that, Barry. Thank you. I was just looking at the Twitter DMs. That's funny. You are not championship material. I think Goldberg is championship material, at least in WWE's eyes. That's for sure. Anyway, all right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. I did catch up all the super chats. There's nothing else there. No other loose ends to tie up here on my notes. I think we fit everything in that we needed to. So like I said, the next time you will hear from me will be tomorrow morning. Just check the channel. Divas Undressed review will be up. And then you can catch me again in live stream form Monday night right after Raw. We'll be up here to talk about all of the nonsense again and try our best to have a good time, because last Monday's show I thought was really kind of weak and it really struggled to get through, and it was long. So hopefully we don't have to go through that shit again on Monday, and hopefully we'll have a decent show so we can come up here and have a good time on Monday and talk about it. So you guys have a great rest of your night, great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.